Within your love make me die and it hurt. Why you got to tease me all the time? I said it hurt. You got to tease me all the time, and if you tease me, within your love you make me cry. And if you tease me, within this love make me die and it hurt. Why you got to tease me all the time? I said it hurt. You got to tease me all the time, and I said, ooh, your hands up, bring your love back to me. Oh, girl.
From USA is where I come from, and that's where I ought to be. Enjoying the girls along on the beach and under the coconut tree. Warm is good, warm is hot, warm is just such a little spot. It's a beautiful island that you've never seen, where America's day begins. Anama udai zugi bakulairi, para guatu America, para dolia go mago, evening nana California. A questo mondo to San Francisco, zau so down America lugu. Iligna, where are you from? Let go, I'm from Guam, Coto, Duan, Keketu. Iletu, I'm from Guam, USA, and I'm proud that it is true. Well, I was born in a land and lived in a world of that tambourine. Warm is good, warm is hot, warm is just such a little spot. It's a beautiful island that you've never seen, where America's day begins. Pues molum zu umi squela in kulebu. Takara mafasin zu to monu zu lekuko toda in keketu. I'm from Guam, USA, and I'm proud that it is true. Well, I was born in the land and lived in a world of that tambourine. Warm is good, warm is hot, warm is just such a little spot. It's a beautiful island that you've never seen, where America's day begins. So come on, you Tamoros, let me hear what you have to say about a beautiful island beneath the sun, known as Guam or USA. About a beautiful island beneath the sun, known as Guam or USA.
Good morning, Guam. Right on. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
Thanks, guys, for hanging with us. You know what it was is we forgot to dial the 1671 on our internet this morning, so it wasn't loading properly. Right, Jay? Let's go with that one. But thank you. The link, Facebook Live, right here on the breeze, KUAM FM, Agani Guam 93.9. Must be Monday, October 25th, year of the COVID 2021. Good morning, guys. As always, it's a great, giant, huge show for you this morning. We're going to be going into the events that occurred at the legislature on Friday. We've got Senator Joanne Brown, Senator Clint Rogel coming in. We put out the ask for a bunch of other senators to include Speaker Therese Terlahi. We'll see how it plays out this morning. Mayor Jesse Allig is Monday morning update. We also got work week weather with Landon Idlett of the National Weather Service. Former Governor Carl Gutierrez, GVB President, is coming on this morning, as is Attorney Vanessa Williams. Get an update on the Cannabis Control Board, cannabis rules and regulations. When will they be implemented? We'll find out with her. That's coming up right here on the link at 6:34. Let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? Yes, we shall. With the very latest from the KUAM News team. Good morning and happy Monday, Sabrina Salas Matanani.
Off it, everybody. As of Sunday night, there were 53 people hospitalized for COVID-19. Additionally, there are 3 pediatric admissions. 9 people are receiving ICU level of care. 8 people are on ventilators. Since Friday, there have been 166 new positive cases of COVID out of 1,830 tests ran by Public Health. New numbers from private clinics from the weekend will be included in tonight's JIC report. The CAR score is 16.8. Additionally, on Friday, Guam recorded its 227th COVID-19 related fatality. It occurred at GRMC on October 22nd. The patient was a 77-year-old female, unvaccinated with underlying health conditions. She tested positive on October 16th. To date, a total of 123,017, that's 90.26% of Guam's eligible population, is fully vaccinated. Following FDA authorization and CDC recommendations, Moderna and Johnson & Johnson booster shots are now available on Guam. The eligibility criteria for the Pfizer and Moderna boosters are as follows. Must have completed the 2-dose series at least 6 months ago, 65 years and older, 18 years and older with underlying medical conditions, 18 years and older with an elevated risk of COVID-19 exposure and transmission due to occupation. The criteria for the J&J booster is as follows: 18 years of age and older who were vaccinated 2 or more months ago. The CDC has also allowed for the mix and match dosing for booster shots only. Meanwhile, a village booster vaccination clinic is being held today and tomorrow at the Dedido Senior Center from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 in the afternoon. First and second dose vaccinations are still being given at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. COVID-19 testing still being offered at the Old Teads Carnival Grounds from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. With more news now, here is Isaiah.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Hafide, good morning, everyone. Guahusi Isaiah again with your headlines here on the link. Discussion over a major glitch in the legislature's procedures for vetting bills before sending them to Adelu dominated Friday's session. The mistake resulted in the governor signing a local war claims law that was essentially changed from what the authors intended. KUM's Nestor Lecanto reports.
Speaker Therese Terlahi acknowledged the error on Thursday. It was her amendment that was added, removing any reference to the time for filing claims, so now many more potential claimants are eligible.
Colleagues, as you know, there's been an issue with Bill 130 that was passed by this body in the last session. We're going to have a recess until 11 a.m. to consult with legal.
And with that, they retreated to a closed-door meeting to discuss how such a thing could happen. But Republicans objected, saying any explanation should be held in the open. Senator Joanne Brown.
But to just discuss this in private after what's become a very public mistake really isn't the direction we should be going. I think we should be very open with regards to our people as well as the members of the body and finding out how did we get in this situation in the first place.
That situation is now, instead of about 700 claimants who missed the federal application deadline becoming eligible, there could be thousands.
To know that a bill that, language was put in a bill that obviously was voted down on the floor and was never included as an amendment gets into a bill, and then we're going to discuss it behind closed doors. I mean, I think that just creates a seed of mistrust that our people have. I think it opens the opportunity for corruption, because now I'm concerned. Here we are thinking we're passing one thing on the floor, and then how does something get inserted?
And that's the key question. In reviewing the tape from the September 29 session, it's clear that the Speaker's amendment was ruled out of order by Appropriations Chairman Joe San Augustine, and no one disputes that it should not have been added. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
When senators reconvened late Friday afternoon, the war claims bill controversy was still front and center. A majority of the Republicans walked out of session after a motion by Senator Frank Blas Jr. to discuss what happened when the bill was voted down. Again, here's Nestor Lecanto with more.
Speaker Therese Terlahi called the body back to order and attempted to go straight into the regular agenda. But Republicans, led by Senator Blas, wanted an explanation for the mistake with the war claims bill. When that failed, he asked for a recess, and they didn't come back. The Speaker then asked for a roll call, and after the count...
Madam Speaker, there is no quorum. According to our rules, in the absence of a quorum, After roll call has been made, the speaker or the chairperson of the committee of the whole, at that person's discretion, may make a call of the House and call a recess until the absent members are present.
Madam Speaker, actually, I'd like to make a motion that we just recess until Monday. It's already 4 p.m. We're here to do work. Some of our colleagues apparently have walked out, and I think it's unfair to walk out and leave the rest of us here just because you lost on a vote. Are we going to walk out every time we don't get our way when we're voting? This is a democracy. You vote. If you have the votes necessary, then your motion carries. If you don't have the votes necessary, don't walk out, don't take your ball and go home.
Senator Joanne Brown explained their position in our earlier interview.
I don't think we can continue to just go on with session, like everything's okay and everything is normal. I mean, we have a democratically led legislature, we have a democratically led administration, and I think it's critically important to have checks and balance. If we just let this slide, I think people are going to continue to think, it's just business as usual. And rather than having the level of engagement and transparency, particularly because this situation happened, the Democratic leadership is choosing to go in a different direction. And that's the main reason that, myself, Senator Tello Taitigui, our Minority Leader, Senator Chris Duenas, Senator Frank Blas, Senator Tony Atta, we decided to step out and we didn't want to be engaged in this issue.
Session is scheduled to resume on Monday. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
With COVID everywhere and cases continuing to surge, the monoclonal antibody treatment has been an effective weapon against the virus. One Island resident shared her COVID story and how the MAB treatment worked. Here's more.
Local resident Angie Gumatao caught COVID-19 and due to her underlying health condition was unable to get the vaccine in order to protect herself. She spoke with KUAM and shared her experience dealing with the virus and getting the monoclonal antibody treatment.
I don't know how I caught it. I don't know where I caught it from, but I caught it. I caught the virus, and unfortunately, I had COVID.
Gumatao recalls the moment she knew something was wrong.
I was having a hard time breathing, and I think I have COVID symptoms. I need to call the ambulance, right? So we checked my oxygen. It was around 92, 93. And, Dr. Jolene again and all the other healthcare professionals were advocating if it was below 95 to seek medical attention.
After consulting with her doctor, she was then advised to take the monoclonal antibody treatment at the Mangilao Senior Center.
I was like, Dean, does it really work? Is it effective? How soon after I get the Regenco will I feel better? I was told a day, sometimes a few days. And I was like, okay, that's all I want. I just want to be better. So you have to cross your hands like this. Mm-hmm. And then there'll be two nurses. So one would inject on the left and one would inject on the right on this part of the arm. At the same time. It has to go in at the same time. So imagine getting 2 shots at one time. And then they go to your stomach. So you have a choice between your arm or your stomach first. I chose my arms first, and then I got it on my stomach. So you get 2 shots again on your stomach at the same time.
After getting the treatment, Gumatao said they were observed for an hour for any adverse reactions. After taking the treatment,
1 week later, that Monday after I got the Regenco, October 4th, I started to feel better.
Gumatao credits the MAB treatment for saving her life and tells everyone who get COVID to consider taking the treatment. Daniel Perez reporting for Guam's News Network.
That's it for now. We'll see you tonight for KUAM News Primetime.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Following up on Nestor's story regarding the error involving Bill 130, which was signed by the governor, Speaker Therese Terlahi issued a statement following Friday's legislative session. She says she worked with the Committee on Rules and Central Staff to determine the cause of the clerical error and to identify any gaps that could be closed in the administrative processes. She adds that she was assured by Acting Rules Chairperson Senator Amanda Shelton that measures were being put in place to ensure it will not be duplicated. She added while colleagues have made accusations in the media that the clerical error was intentional, corrupt, and sowing seeds of distrust, she remains committed to honoring the credibility of the institution, the tenet of attorney-client privilege, as well as the will of the body to provide a productive solution by majority vote. She added that no solution was proffered on Friday. A session was impeded by repeated walkouts. In addition, Public Law 3634, authored by Senator Joanne Brown, that requires our agenda be properly noticed. Bill 130 was not included as an agenda item on the legislature's notice, which was published on October 15th and 19th. Actions on the floor require 8 votes. Speaker Terlahi adds that, quote, I understand the calls for accountability from our Republican colleagues and hope they see this as an opportunity to improve upon our processes and not to threaten the livelihoods of these employees over a clerical error or to create chaos instead of a solution. The Committee on Rules should implement changes to prevent future errors. Meanwhile, Bill 130, with its error again, was signed into law by the governor. We caught up with Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, who gives his reaction.
Well, I think in the big picture, I think the upside is everybody wants to try and get a program done. And I'd say that based on what we believe the finances are available and what the intent of the legislation, the governor would be able to submit an implementation plan to the legislature that's going to give us a pathway to resolve some of these errors. Now, the big error, to me, is the fact that many WAR survivors who filled out applications at the time the program was open gave them to trusted offices and they were never filed. There were other people that I've met that thought that they had filed and that in previous years their files would be automatically given to the commission. It's created a lot of problems. So my hope and my priority, I would tell you this, is that we need to resolve the claims for those Manumco that were qualified in the federal legislation, and for many reasons we're not able to file an application that the federal government was able to look at. And I think that if we focus in on that group, we'll be able to make good on the promise to give them justice.
We just got this from the Joint Information Center from Adelup that the free community testing for COVID-19 that was supposed to be at Tizen has been moved to the Micronesia Mall parking garage. That's on the Payless side. This is due to the preparation of inclement weather. Again, it's not being held at the old Tizen Carnival grounds. It has been moved to the Micronesia Mall parking garage. It is from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Meanwhile, according to the Guam Department of Education's daily COVID-19 report issued on Friday, they reported 15 new positive cases involving students and 1 involving an employee. The 15 student cases were identified at Estumbo Elementary, 2 from Finagayan Elementary, 1 from Lyndon B. Johnson Elementary, 1 from M.U. Lujan Elementary, 1 from Upi Elementary, 2 from Weddingale Elementary, 1 from Estumbo Middle School, 2 from Untalan Middle School, 1 from Benavente Middle School, 1 from George Washington High School, 1 from John F. Kennedy High School, and 1 from Ukadu High School. The single employee case was identified at Weddingale Elementary. Meanwhile, the Archdiocese of Vigiania on Friday also reported 10 new COVID-19 cases amongst Catholic school students and staff. Of that number, 9 are students, 1 an employee. St. Anthony Catholic School in Tamuning reported 5 students have contracted the virus, while Santa Barbara Catholic School, San Vicente Catholic School, Bishop Bumgarner Memorial Catholic School, and Dominican Child Development Center each have 1 positive student, respectively. 1 employee from Bishop Bumgarner tested positive. Since the return to on-site learning on September 20th, there have been a total of 29 cases of COVID-19 reported by Catholic schools, 27 students, and 2 employees. In regional news, CNMI Governor Ralph Torres weighs in on the announcement by his Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios, who's now running against him in the next election. Tomas Menglotnia reports.
I have a role that I was elected, and I need to move forward and continue doing what I've done in the beginning, prioritizing our community, trying to bring in investment for our economy. That has not changed.
CNMI Governor Ralph Torres weighing in on the news that Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios wants his seat in the next election. In an interview with KUAM, Palacios says there's a crisis of confidence in government, and that's why he's running for governor with Saipan Mayor David Apatang as his running mate. Both Republicans turned independents who also say they're considering to run under the Democratic Party too. Torres says his dedication does not change.
I've been tested numerous times from Sodilor, Mangkut, Super Typhoon, U2, and of course here in the pandemic. I'm not one to look at and say, oh, the histories that I've done, the good things that I've done. Since you're asking, go back to this COVID, for example. Look at all the videos who's been at the airport, who's been at the alternate care site, who's been every day been out there. While others, whether you're elected official or what capacity that you hold, you don't see them around when the tough gets going.
He says while factions grow, he remains committed to the party.
Throughout my political career, I've always been a Republican. So I will hold myself, and I'll continue to be a Republican, and a proud Republican for that matter.
Tomas Manglotnya for KUAM News on Saipan.
Myself, and I'll continue to be a Republican, and a proud Republican for that matter.
Tomas Manglotnya for KUAM News on Saipan.
All Souls Day falls on November 2nd and will look much different than in years past. KUAM's Hannah Devonzo has a story.
Over 85% of Guam is Catholic, meaning All Souls Day is a cherished holiday of remembering loved ones who have died. President and chairperson of Our Lady of Peace, Philip Flores.
It's very different because, as I said, we would normally have thousands of people at Our Lady of Peace. The last time we observed at Our Lady of Peace was 2 years ago, pre-COVID. We had a Mass in Chamorro, we had a Mass in English, we had a Mass in Tagalog, and the park was full during all those times.
Although restrictions are in place for All Souls Day this year, progress has been made from last year.
Last year there was nothing. Last year we were advised not to even open our gates. This year we are opening our gates, as are the other memorial parks or cemeteries in Guam. But however, there'll be no masses, and we're advising our family at Our Lady of Peace to practice your distancing, wear your masks. You don't have to be vaccinated to get on or get in, but we're advising you. We still have rules that need to be followed, and we're not happy we can't have a mass, but we can't have a mass. Hopefully next year.
DPHSS encourages safety measures for All Souls Day. Some include spending time with individuals of the same household or celebrating virtually, scheduling visits to loved one grave sites to minimize gatherings, or creating a virtual space to honor lost loved ones. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Hannah Devonzo.
Now let's take a look at your headlines in our native tongue. Here's Uncle King Concepcion with today's Chamorro News Update, sponsored by our friends at First Aid.
Buenos days to get sunto bitunod sa morgin ni KUAM News. Presenta ni Familian Mito gi First Hawaiian Bank. The Special Preventive Food and Drug Administration and recommended the Centers for Disease Control a booster shot siha na binakuna gini ni Moderna dan ni Johnson & Johnson sa tagagi pagugi isla. Para kunalifika para Pfizer dan ni Moderna ang booster sa debi kabala sa stay dos na binakunamu maski size message na tempo tati. Segundo, debi datmu sa 65 anyos pat amkornia. Iminatres sinalukid 18 anyos pat mas datmu kumugway sa mo underlying medical conditions. Jay mana 4 sinalukid 18 anyos na edad para hulo kumuchit somo mas riskaw para COVID-19 no sina mas tadik tinat mihaw. Para kunalifika para Johnson & Johnson na booster sa debi din 18 anyos na edad para amkornia sa mabakuna hasta 2 meses na tempo tati pat mas. CDC sa sedi lokui mix and match na binakuna para booster shot. Mas asunto, durante na meeting para media gi mampus na Medculis, imaga si Guam Department of Education si John Fernandez, asangan nesta man manay notisya azo siya empleyado, niti man mabakunan ni Cabales kontra COVID-19 na ternod. Ilangan nesta man manay siya autoridad para formates estisya na holadero. Sigon si Fernandez, kasi 350 na empleyado, entre todo y 41 na eskwelaang publiko, dyan opisina na dyan na ahensya siha sa debi yung matutuhon man mates pago na dia. Adyan na tes ang mas maninay adilantun pernitehi, punofa not meet not COVID. Esta hulog Medculis, kasi 88.5% na empleyado ni GDOE sa esta Cabales binakunan niya. Yuto mo na sunto para pago na Lunes kifinot sa Moro gini KUAM News, Matutuang ginigap aji David yung dayo des na numero gi telefon. Adjo sa ijota area code ni 671 pa si numero ng telefon ni yung keke agang. Kumutun sogo ti sempi unungo recording no yung formahaw na tikabali si numero no yung dayo. David yung tutuan tala dunebo dyan na siguro na yung dayo 671 finenina. Este nuevo na reglamento sa maadapta ni FCC gi Julio Nemes para ma-establisa in 988 na numero sa nuevo na 3 na numero para sa Ciudadano ng Amerika siya para maagang nga di suicide prevention sa ni counselor para mental health na problema siya. Para Guam News Network, Guausikin Conception. Yasukto Finut Samoro sa presenta sa ninafatto ni Familia Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Want a better look at your spending? With MoneyMap, you can automatically create budgets and manage where your money is going. Know when you have a green light or when it's time to slow down. Maybe cook more meals at home this week. Set your goals, track your progress, and find your way to exactly where you want to be. With MoneyMap from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. It all starts with yes.
Refresh Guam, as you know, is the island's newest digital hub, so check them out on Instagram and Facebook for truly local content and daily giveaways.
Refresh Guam, truly local.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38. Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This pink message is brought to you in partnership with Ordot Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
Join KUAM every Wednesday on Primetime for Inside Business. It's our new weekly segment featuring the struggle of Guam's businesses during this global pandemic. We'll hear from industry leaders about the difficult decisions they were forced to make to implement cutoffs, layoffs, and shorten hours just to survive. It's the other side effect of COVID, the island's economic crisis. We'll also feature new businesses that managed to open and thrive during these challenging times. It's Inside Business every Wednesday on KUAM News Primetime.
The Totomotna Tales. October on the KUAM Podcast Network.
We know you're tired of hearing about COVID-19. Some of you are probably wondering whether this is ever going to end. However long it takes, we all have to do our part, including our children, to hold the line. You can protect yourself and your family by getting vaccinated.
And if you're already vaccinated, don't let your guard down because you can still give and get COVID-19. And if you're not vaccinated, remember that if you catch the virus, you could suffer more severe complications. At the end of the day, it's the choices we make to protect ourselves, our families, and our community that will control the spread.
We know it sounds repetitive at this point, but again, wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your mask.
Together, we have to hold the line.
Take in the panoramic beauty of our island each Sunday on the KUAM News Instagram with Scenic Sundays. Scroll through the natural beauty of the island on display. Scenic Sundays on the KUAM News Instagram is brought to you by Addis Trust and Investment, Location, Service, Trust, and Haagen-Dazs Shops Guam, where every day is made extraordinary.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications. Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi.
The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
See what's on TV tonight with schedules, network news and notes, local promotions and giveaways on KUAM Communications social media pages. Like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram now for all the latest and never miss out.
The Culture Club returns to KUAM Digital and KUAM News Weekend Edition, highlighting Guam's young artists, activists, and crafters as they work to protect, preserve, and promote our Chamorro culture. Watch this weekly feature on the digital platforms of KUAM News Weekend Edition, brought to you by Hanum.
GU Self Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
And let's head right into the KUAM News Zoom room. We're standing by. We have the Executive Director of the Commission on Decolonization, Melvin Wampat Borja. Good morning, Mel.
Good morning. Hafidi.
Let's just get right into it. So I know that we usually go out to New York City, United Nations, to testify a couple times a year, whether it be officials from the government like yourself or the Lieutenant Governor, Josh Tenorio, who you recently accompanied to the UN, or different activists or people representing the different task forces. So being that we usually go a couple years, what kind of made things different for you and the Lieutenant Governor testifying this year?
One of the major components of our testimony and approach this year was to focus on the UN visiting mission, which is not necessarily different than what we've done traditionally. We've requested this in the past. However, a UN visiting mission to Guam has to be approved by the U.S. State Department, which has in the past been denied. There's actually only ever been one UN visiting mission to Guam, and that was in the 70s to witness the Constitutional Convention, which really didn't pan out exactly the way that anyone really would have hoped. But that said, this year there was a mention on the record of 3 separate UN special rapporteur filings claiming alleged violations of human rights in regard to the military buildup. And that was significant because it's the first time that the UN has really put out any kind of position or statement or advocacy for Guam on Guam's behalf. So those UN reports or filings from the special rapporteurs actually came out of UN Geneva, which is a little different than the UN headquarters in New York. And so what we had to do was transmit these filings to President Biden and also to the UN. And so having these filings on record in a lot of ways is a motivational force, a force multiplier for the federal government to approve a visiting mission to Guam. We know that this is significant because, as an unincorporated territory, we really have very little agency and limited participation in the federal system of government. But at the same time, on an international level, we are not members of the UN. So we exist in this very political gray area, and any kind of advocacy is very challenging and difficult for us. And so it really requires a very creative approach, a very consistent approach, especially on the UN level. The UN work is, very much a marathon and not a sprint. It's really all about how consistent you can be historically and what type of language you get put on the record. And the unfortunate reality of engagement at the UN level is that if you're not there, you don't exist. Even during COVID and during these challenging times to travel and to engage, the UN does not accept remote testimony or written testimony. It has to be delivered in person. And so, we're very fortunate that we were able to engage on this level. I'm definitely grateful that the administration has made a commitment to be present. They easily could have decided to just send me alone, but I think it definitely sends a strong message to the United Nations and the United States when we send our administrators out there. The LT did a fantastic job. He delivered a very powerful testimony, so much so that we were invited to meet with Ambassador Jeff DeLaurentis, who is the U.S. mission ambassador for the United States in the United Nations. This is all State Department engagement. It's very rare that the State Department engages the government of Guam. Normally, they like for us to only engage with the Department of the Interior, which has its limits, and it's definitely very problematic. Even with a high level of advocacy on the interior level, it's a very different treatment when you're dealing with the State Department. The State Department of the United States exists particularly for engagement with other countries, sovereign nations. And so, engaging us on that level is significant in the sense that, it does signal that, there is a higher level of consideration for our political status issues and resolution of them.
Melso, I wasn't really clear on the rapporteur thing. So the State Department has to approve this rapporteur visit to Guam?
Okay, so what it is that in order to get a UN visiting mission to Guam, this is a mandate. So if a UN visiting mission is requested by a non-self-governing territory, the committee is mandated to respond. They're also mandated to respond for requests for support for education. However, those requests can only be fulfilled with the approval of our administrative power or the United States. And so even though we have asked in the past for both educational support and a visiting mission, without the approval of the United States federal government and the State Department, it's a no-go. And now the way that the special rapporteur filings factor into this is that this was actually not a GovGuam action. The special rapporteur filings were spearheaded by the group Protect Hilatekden and Blue Ocean Law in collaboration with the UNPO, which is the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization, of which we are a member. And so because we are members, now we have a stake in these claims. And so when these filings were assessed by there are three different special rapporteurs who assess different aspects of these human rights violations. What they did was they conducted, a kind of baseline investigation and then filed these complaints officially with the UN. Now, these all happened in Geneva, where the human rights mechanisms exist, which is a little different than what happens at the UN headquarters in New York. And so after they were filed, they were sent to the UN and sent to President Biden. And one of the things that we ensured was that the citation of these filings were noted on the record, and we're hopeful that it will survive the last vote by the fourth committee and be adopted in the resolution, this year's resolution on Guam. And so if that happens, which is very likely, having that claim on the record, it really just strengthens the argument for a need for this visiting mission. The idea really is that, the United States should be accountable. They should kind of have the opportunity to, assess these assertions and either refute or, allow them to come to light. So we're hopeful that the UN visiting mission is going to gain some traction given this additional action and these discoveries. If only for the pure sake that the federal government wants an opportunity to defend themselves. But we think it's important for the United Nations to come and assess for themselves. I think it's clear that there is a difference in perspective between the local government and the federal government, especially in regards to self-determination.
Right.
And one of the claims of these violations includes the lack of free, prior, and informed consent in regards to the military buildup and the impact that has on our self-determination and decolonization.
Mel, just for clarity for our listeners, are the UN visiting mission and the special rapporteurs, are those two separate things or one and the same?
Yes, they're separate. So every committee has a rapporteur, and the special rapporteur basically is built to take complaints or take any kind of assertion of violation, and they're built to assess those things given the scope of work of the committee. So even though these rapporteur filings are coming out of Geneva because of the impact that it has on the issue at hand in regards to the C24 and the fourth committee, now it's kind of in their ballpark and it's on their radar. And so it's important for us to, we have to kind of do the extra legwork to ensure that these things are included on the record. So it began with us just transmitting the reports from the three different rapporteurs to both the UN, so the C24 and the C4, but also to the federal government and President Biden. Now, once those things go on the record, what we have to do is to strategically request, for the visiting mission and state the connection between these issues.
Right on.
And so, the only way to get that officially on the record and included and adopted in the resolution is to physically appear before the committee.
Well, it's way clearer the third time you explain it. Thank you. I'm just like, well, if I'm having trouble following along, then I know our audience got to be like, hold on, let's just straighten this out.
It's a very complex and layered process. The UN is a bureaucracy just like any other, but it's an international bureaucracy. And so in a lot of ways, there are a lot of additional challenges. Even just simply reading a testimony in front of the committee is not an easy task. There's a very strict time limit. They cut you off if you pass the limit. You have to kind of be at a reasonable pace so that the translators have a chance to interpret properly. You have to submit ahead of time so that they can be able to review them and prepare their translators. But there's also a lot of other engagement that goes on, while we're in New York at the UN. It's really important for us to engage members of the committee, to engage other members of the UN to get the support that we need. It's very different. Normally when you're talking about a voting body, you're usually dealing with it as a voting member. And so just like in the legislature, when you want to pass a bill, you go out there and you work with your colleagues and say, hey, I'm going to support this. You support me, I'll support you. But we don't have a vote to leverage, just like we don't have a vote to leverage in Congress. And so that way it's very similar. We have to kind of get creative and find other ways to garner that type of support. And so in a lot of ways, it's like connecting the dots, trying to find a way that our issues with self-determination and decolonization are connected to other countries' issues and how they have vested interests. And so, for example, our neighbors in the Micronesian region have become significantly more important in the sense that now they are in a place where they are renegotiating their compacts of free association.
Right, yeah, that makes me so malago when I see that.
Yeah, and so it's a very important opportunity for us because obviously the renegotiation of those compacts has a very direct impact on our lives here on Guam, given our connection to our neighboring islands. But it also does give us an opportunity to gain their support on a UN level, which has not been very easy in the past, And so I think that now more than ever, there's been a lot of attention on the geopolitical role of Guam and the importance and value of Guam, in the region in terms of, military and global conflict. And so, it's a very opportune time for Guam to be able to assert that, our self-determination, our decolonization has to be a priority because we really should have the right to have the agency in determining what role we play in the geopolitical landscape. I think it's very problematic when, Guam is used as a, piece on the chessboard, a very critical piece on that chessboard, but we don't have any say in, what role we are going to play or how we are going to fit into the scheme. As an unincorporated territory, the reality is that we're a possession and we're not a member of the union. We don't participate meaningfully in the system of government. Though we have a local government, we're ultimately under the plenary power of Congress. Congress can do with Guam what they will. And so, that's really what's at stake here is that, if we want to be active members and active players in our own destiny, then we must address our issues with self-determination.
Mel, I just want to kind of like everything you just said when you talked about now our geopolitical importance is highlighted in many ways more than it's ever been, right? And while you see that as a way for us to get a seat at the table and to have more negotiating power, one might also say that that's even more motivation for the administering power to continue to do nothing to address our political status or decolonization and just keep us, because it's very beneficial for them for them to keep us in this, like you called, the political gray area.
Right. It's absolutely beneficial for our administering power to have us remain an unincorporated territory. I mean, if anyone is familiar with, for example, the draft EIS statement or the EIS statement from the for the buildup, you know, in the statement of need and the desire to relocate, these soldiers to Guam, one of the major arguments was that Guam, as an unincorporated territory, is recognized as sovereign U.S. soil. And because of our political status and our lack of agency in the federal system of government, it really does give the Department of Defense the flexibility and autonomy to execute their mission in the way that they see fit. And we see this a lot, right? Like there's been a lot of controversy around just the construction of military projects and the impact that it has on our cultural resources and cultural preservation. You know, we have very little agency when it comes to the way that we engage the federal government in that regard. I think the bottom line is that so long as we remain an unincorporated territory, our relationship with the federal government and with the military remains one that is based on consultation and not consent, which I think is very problematic, right? I mean, it's kind of like this idea that, like, you want to do something in someone's house and you just tell them, I'm going to do this. Yeah. You don't ask them if that's okay with them. And that's really what's at stake.
Or Mel, I mean, sometimes it's like they just start doing stuff and then we're like, hey, what are they doing over there? Oh, we've been doing this, man. We've been bulldozing your ancestors. You didn't get the memo, did you?
Here's an and here's the information that you need to know. Right. And just to let you know, this is what we did, what we're going to do, right, what we have done. I mean, it's very problematic in the sense that, the only real obligation that the federal government has to the people of Guam is to consult us, to notify us, to let us, be aware of what is happening. And we have very little control to stop that. I mean, we saw that right when there was the potential destruction of the Nelsoni tree, right, on base during one of the major construction projects. And under, Rear Admiral Chatfield, the governor had requested a pause, right? She had asked for a pause so that we can assess the damage and come up with a better mitigation plan. And that request was just a flat no. Like, no, we're not doing that. Yeah. We're just going to continue on. We will mitigate the way that we see fit. And so, that's what's important about the special rapporteur filings is that they assert that there has really been no free, prior, and informed consent. And consent is the key word here, right? It's not free, prior, and informed consultation, which we get. But what we don't get is consent. We don't have the right to mutual consent. And this is something that I think a lot of our elders can really, relate to, in the sense that we went the distance on the Commonwealth Draft Act. And the major hangup for the Commonwealth Draft Act was free, prior, and informed consent, mutual consent, right? That was the piece of the Draft Act that the federal government was not happy with. They would have signed the Commonwealth Draft Act had we removed the clause on mutual consent and the one on immigration. But because we weren't willing to negotiate on that because the people had voted on it, in referendum, Governor Atta became famous or infamous to some as saying that, he's not authorized to negotiate on these terms because his people have spoken. I give a lot of respect to Governor Atta for taking that really bold stance. He continues to be criticized for that to this day. Yeah. A lot of people say, that, the government of Guam was just not willing to negotiate, or that we were not willing to participate in this process, and that was ultimately what killed the Commonwealth movement. But if you really read into the history of it, it was really about mutual consent. If we were willing to give up mutual consent, then we could have been a Commonwealth. But I mean, what's the point of us changing a status if we don't change our authority and our autonomy and our agency in the way that things happen here on our island?
Mel, you and I could just go on and on and on all day about this subject, but I wanted to just kind of bring us to the status of decolonization. Where are we with the education campaigns, and what is the next step in the decolonization movement as it stands today?
So on the educational front, we continue to produce content for the educational campaign. We actually just released our first 30-minute television special, which is being aired on PBS every Sunday and Monday at 7 p.m. It's also on YouTube. We've shared it on social media. We actually had a release at the Guam Museum recently. This is the first of 2 documentaries. The second documentary will be released shortly. That's going to be kind of an introduction to the self-determination study, which is finally through the last round of editing and is actually in the works of publication now. So we hope to have that study released within the next month or so. We're really just trying to get to the procurement to get it printed, but we will release it digitally ahead of the physical copies. Once we get the physical copies in hand, they'll be distributed widely to mayor's offices, senators' offices, public libraries, and the like. But it will also be available online. We will also be launching our comprehensive social media campaign. The study is a dense attempt at kind of assessing the different layers of this issue. It's definitely an academic exercise. It's not necessarily accessible to a lot of people in the sense that it's a tough read. And so, we're very aware of that, but there's still a very real need for resources, for, something solid that's evidence-based. And so the study it remains important whether people read it or not. And so, but, obviously the information is critical and people need to know it. So how do we get that information to people if they're not going to read the study? One of the things that we've done in collaboration with PBS on this contract is to develop, I keep calling them the Cliffs Notes. I got to get a better name for it.
Just little bullet points and little pieces of key information.
Highlights.
I got you.
Yeah. So what we did is we broke down highlights from every section of the study, and we built them so that they can be delivered in really digestible portions on social media. And so you'll be able to kind of pick apart the study in pieces and understand it in sections, and then be able to reference back to the study for further reading and more exploration. This is all a part of our approach at trying to bring the information to the community. Once the study is released, then we'll start engaging publicly once hopefully restrictions are lifted soon, and we'll be able to engage on the village level in the community. I know folks have a lot of questions, and there's really no substitute for direct engagement. Yeah. So, we're hopeful that we can start these conversations again. Should restrictions not lift, or should there be an extension, then, we're just going to have to adjust to a virtual platform. Yeah. But, we've been really hard at work at developing this content and conducting all of the research necessary. In terms of the plebiscite and the vote itself, there are quite a number of options. The Ninth Circuit Court ruling will stand now that the Supreme Court has rejected our request for an appeal. And so what that means for us is that, whenever somebody doesn't get a favorable response from the judicial system, their last resort really is Congress, right? Because Congress has plenary power over Guam, they can literally do whatever they please as long as they have a vote. And so, it's a very real possibility that that Congress could just outright approve a vote for Guam on self-determination and authorize that vote to happen. And so, there's definitely been some exploration on that possibility and what it would take to achieve that goal. But another possibility is to draft a new local law that adheres to the parameters of the Ninth Circuit Court ruling. I think that the main issue here really is that we conduct a vote that is dignified and that treats our people, the colonized people of Guam, the people who have suffered this injustice, with the human dignity that they deserve. This is a long-standing issue for the people of Guam. We've been a colony of the United States for 123 years. We've experienced an uninterrupted period of colonization for nearly 500 years, dating back to the Spanish. And so, we remain one of the last 17 non-self-governing territories in the world. And so while so many countries and, former territories have decolonized and have found themselves in a place where they are fully self-governing, we have not. And that's something that I think a lot of people, even locally, are not very aware of. We see our local government, our government elections take place, and we assume that that means that, we operate in a full system of democratic rule, which is true on some levels, but not true on others. Although we do have a democratic system of government locally, that system itself is ultimately subservient and at the mercy of Congress. The Constitution is clear. The territorial clause is clear that Congress has plenary power over Guam, and that Congress can do with Guam what they choose. And so, without a meaningful representation in Congress, we lack the type of agency that other states have. And it's different because we're also an unincorporated territory. If we were an incorporated territory, that would mean that we are on a direct path to statehood. But it's pretty clear to me that, the United States never intended for us to be on a direct path for statehood. The unincorporated territory status is really just a colonial construct. It's built for a specific purpose. I think the purpose is clear, right? It allows the federal government to kind of treat Guam like a possession and do whatever it is that they please. And so, we're not over here saying that, we should have special consideration or, we should have more rights than others. All we're really asking for is dignified treatment that everyone in the world deserves. I mean, this is an unalienable human right. It's a fundamental human right.
Preaching to the choir, my friend. The way I look at it, it's like we're just stuck on this on-ramp that ain't going nowhere, and we've been stuck here for hundreds of years. Like, Mel, it's always great to get with you. I want to get you back on, maybe put on your DCA hat, and we'll talk about the things that you got planned for the museum. That'd be great.
I'd love to.
But Mel, always great to catch up with you, Charlie.
Absolutely.
Algo más. Está.
See what's on TV tonight with schedules, network news and notes, local promotions and giveaways on KYM Communications social media pages. Like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram now for all the latest and never miss out.
This holiday season, we're once again bringing together the island's largest array of local vendors for a special innovative way for you to shop, broadcast, and go digital with Team KUAM. Join us on Sunday, November 28th for the annual Christmas Pops Virtual Holiday Market at 12 noon on KUAM TV8 and the KUAM News Facebook page, plus additional show times through December 11th. We'll also be featuring vendors daily with posts with QR codes and links on our social media pages beginning Monday, November 29th, and hosting an exclusive Christmas Pops website for your one-stop shopping. It's a safe and convenient way for you to shop local this holiday season. To reserve your spot, email promotions@kuam.com today. Virtual space is limited.
Do you feel like you're missing out on something? Make life more rewarding with Pacific Points. Earn and redeem points for bill rebates and free load at IT&E, discounts on fuel at Shell, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. You can even pay with Pacific Points at IT&E, Shell, and Foodies. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, where you get smart insights into your finances so you can make smart decisions with your money. With a daily personalized feed, you can compare your monthly income to spending. That's better. Discover where your money is actually going. You might be surprised. See what's essential and what isn't. The more you use the app, the smarter it gets. With insights from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, it all starts with yes.
KUAM's multi-platform morning show, The Link, just got a little more delicious with Feed Me Fridays. Chris, Sabrina, Jason, and the rest of the morning crew will take some time off each Friday to talk, taste, and tempt you with all the latest and greatest food and drinks on Guam. Old faves, new hits, and everything else we can put in our bellies. It's Feed Me Fridays on The Link, brought to you by King's Restaurants, Ruby Tuesday Guam, and Devondale. Catch SportsLink on the KUAM News Morning Show, The Link, every Friday for the latest sports news, game schedules, athlete profiles, and more. SportsLink airs every Friday across the multi-platforms of KUAM. Tune in to the broadcast on Breeze 93.9 FM, on KUAM TV 11, live stream through the KUAM News Facebook page, or view highlights on YouTube, KUAM News Facebook, and Instagram page. SportsLink is brought to you by Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape.
Looking for TV schedules, upcoming sports, or special presentations, or what you may have missed over the busy week you had? Well, look no further than KUAM Digital Digest. This weekly emailed newsletter puts all kinds of information in the hands of subscribers each and every week. Just subscribe and we will make sure you keep up with your favorites and stay informed and entertained throughout it all. Go to KUAM.com, click on the newsletter tab, give us your email address, and you are all set. Brought to you in digital partnership with King's Restaurant and Ruby Tuesday Guam. It's the KUAM Digital Digest, your weekly guide to the latest information and best entertainment on the stations and platforms of KUAM.
So I picked up my boat around 3, trying not to think about you and other things like school and the homework that's due. Baby, is it cool if I take you out? I know it's for the better, me and you. Let's take advantage of this beautiful weather. Do you wanna try for us one more time?
Hey, good morning. 7:30 on The Link. It's October 25th, year of the COVID 2021. Ladies, Jason Solis.
Yeah, we have an update for you. If you need to be COVID tested today, and we highly encourage you that you do so, on Monday the 25th, which is of course today, go to the Micronesia Mall parking garage. It's already open. It opened about 31 minutes ago, and it goes from 7 in the morning until 10 a.m. The Micronesia Mall parking garage, the Payless side. So if you're really, really old school like Chris and I, what used to be Safeway, what used to be over there on the mall?
Oh, yeah. No, it was Safeway.
It was Wiener Schnitzel for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a bunch of things over there. But yeah, the parking garage of the Payless side, they are doing COVID testing. This is the free COVID-19 community testing. Remember, as always, only 4 people per vehicle, please, and bring a photo ID. Testing, if you need travel, will not be conducted. You got to go to public health for that.
Right.
But if you need to be tested, know your status, as Mayor Jesse Alec of the Mayor's Council always says, and we appreciate that he does. 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. today at the Micronesia Mall.
Right on. Tomas Maglotnia back from the NMI.
Hey guys, nice to see you.
Good to
being
see
here
you.
in studio with you guys.
I know,
every
man.
day.
Has your body adjusted to the time
Yeah.
zone?
Are you jet lag, boy?
Not really, but I was telling Chris this morning, I kind of woke up in a panic thinking of where to do the live shot from, but now I can just walk in here. So.
Right on. So you did bring some goodies for us, right?
Yeah, of course. Just always want to bring some good snacks from the NMI over to you all.
Guys, Tomas actually had to get an extra luggage.
I did, and it's funny because actually the cashier was like, "Oh, this is for work, huh?" I was like, "Yep, yeah." I always want to bring stuff back to you all.
Now, was this out of the kindness of your own heart, completely unprovoked?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it out of the...
Chris and Bree said we won't let you in the building.
We want to know what worked better, the kindness of your heart or me and Bree's guilt trip?
Both
Okay.
equally important to me.
Right on. So there you go. He's coming up, Tomas. I know you got a lot of stuff.
Herman's, and then also got some stuff from Himawari.
Right.
I know, but you guys might not need it anymore because you have so many people dropping things off to you.
No, the more the merrier. It's cool.
Yeah.
We're doing an outreach, Tomas.
Okay.
So the blueberry bread, that's from Himawari.
Yeah.
Which is a Japanese restaurant bakery.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And then Herman's, of course, everybody knows Herman's.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The favorites.
So what's coming up, your 8 o'clock report?
Yeah, so we just have some new info from the CNMI resident who was arrested. Finally, the Department of Public Safety on Saipan releasing their full statement about what exactly transpired and what he was charged with. We also have an update with regards to some COVID-19 news in the CNMI. One hospitalization there now. that we are going to be
One
reporting on.
one hospitalization in the CNMI.
And also coming back on with some new content also for Pacific Matters. Tonight's episode is going to actually feature a bit from Saipan and also reaching back into our Behind the Frontline series, showing you a full recap of what that was and also giving you an inside look of the quarantine process we had on Saipan. So,
Nice.
We actually did that report in quarantine, so we'll have that for you also. And just a whole bunch of other things. When over in Saipan, lots happening there, not only politically, but the Northern Marianas College is being rebuilt. We spoke with some cannabis growers, cannabis retailers there. We also spoke with some...
You spoke with or smoked with?
Spoke with a P.
Smoked with. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and we'll bring you that all in the coming weeks, and so really excited to share that. We also got to tour the oncology center there, the cancer treatment center, and
Nice.
the first oncologist there in a while.
Right.
And a lot of an inside look of what's happening in the different areas over on in Saipan as well.
I wanted to ask because there was a story that you did when you were over in the NMI, and this was relative to they either subpoenaed former Senator Will Castro or they were going to.
They approved the subpoena. Okay. They haven't executed or scheduled it. We should have more tomorrow. Tomorrow is also when they expect the written affidavit from Governor Torres's executive assistant, Francis de la Cruz, to be submitted. And they say that if that's not submitted or if they're not satisfied with the written response, they will require her to show up in person to give in-person testimony.
Right.
And of course, all of this coming up because Russ Garber, who actually represents the CNMI government and the CNMI governor himself from D.C., says that she's immune from testimony because she's an executive assistant. Now, of course, people wondering, what does that mean for Will Castro, who is now the chief of staff? But they said that they're subpoenaing him in his capacity as a former senator.
Correct.
And because he has been in Guam this whole time.
Yeah, so this is where it gets interesting for me. So he's been in Guam the whole time, and they couldn't subpoena him. But obviously, we all know he got hired over there as the chief of staff. But some friends of mine told me that they saw him on a flight coming into Guam. Wearing, and it was kind of funny because I don't know if he was trying to sneak back in and pretend he's like really, really from the NMI, but I heard he had like an NMI hat, an NMI pin, and like NMI glasses, NMI mask.
Okay,
like nothing to see here, just the NMI guy coming back into Guam.
Yeah, and so we'll see what transpires tomorrow. They're supposed
he had like
to
an NMI flag tattooed right here. Just kidding, guys.
I want some of that gear. I don't have that. But
he had like Tribe Marianas. He had Tribe Marianas.
Chris.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. But
no, I heard he came back to Guam because he's joining the Republicans in their walkout.
I was gonna say if you really want to be like nonchalant and everything like that, and just kind of like blend into the crowd, bring have a styrofoam cooler of fish underneath your arm at the airport, and everyone's gonna go, oh, okay, you just
okay, No, nothing is here, bro. Just 12 pounds of a piggy.
Hey, welcome back.
Well, I don't know. Our declaration forms, like, thing.
So that's what I'm wondering is interesting to me that they just had started discussion on the subpoena, and then lo and behold, guess who comes back to Guam when they said they couldn't serve him because he had been in Guam. So I was like, is he trying to get out of this thing or what's the deal? I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I guess they're trying to find out. And so tomorrow, I think they're expected to convene again at 10:30. So we'll have more on that from the CNMI.
Thank you, Tomas. Tomas is coming up in the 8 o'clock hour with the 8 o'clock newscast, and he'll have more on the daily question and a whole bunch of stuff.
All right. Thanks so much. Good to be back.
All right. Welcome back. 7:37. Let's go ahead and give away some pizza, Jason, shall we? And then we're going to get over to Mayor Jesse Allig, the Mayor's Council of Guam president. He's here for our Monday meetup. We do an update every Monday morning. It's a great way to start the week.
Okay, so there is a little thing that you guys have to know. Of course, same thing that we've been doing all throughout National Pizza Month. We're going to ask you a question. You got to give us the right answer. First correct caller, you're going to go home with a gift certificate today to Sbarro's. Excellent pizza there. I love their pepperoni pizza.
What do you like?
Straight pepperoni. It's big slices, like nice chewy.
It's big, very big.
Yeah, but then also, like if you tried their chicken ranch, they put like a little barbecue drizzle sauce on it and everything. That's very good.
Jay, have you ever tried the spinach mushroom one?
I have. That's
It's
good.
really good.
Their
I like
spinach
it.
lasagna is very
Yeah,
good.
they do something with like they butter the crust or something. Really good stuff. Anyway, we love Sbarro.
Yeah,
We're
and
fans.
they sell it by the slice, so you can be as indulgent as you wish, or as how your budget permits. But today we're giving you a gift certificate, so go crazy. We're giving you that and a 12-pack of Pepsi. Here's the catch, though.
All right.
Remember, first correct caller, but you got to call 671-637-0094.
Darn it. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna get into the whole number thing in just a bit. So today's trivia question: which ingredient gives pesto, or if you're from Guam, pesto, its green color? Which ingredient? Mayor Jesse Alec really like that. Which ingredient gives pesto its green color? Is it A, basil, B, bell peppers, C, is it just food coloring, or D, arugula? Is it basil, bell pepper, food coloring, or arugula? Which ingredient gives pesto its color of green?
Right, Jay. So when you're
And if it was
dialing
green
in,
and gold, it would be totally a JFK thing. But it's
when
just
you're
green.
dialing in, what do you got to do again?
Okay, 671.
Do you have to press 1?
No.
Okay.
Somebody got it already. The phone's already ringing.
Right,
So
yeah.
671-637-0094. Can you tell us which ingredient gives pesto its green color?
Hi. Good morning. Welcome to the link.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing pretty good, even though it's Monday.
I got to make the best of it, right?
Right on. Be positive, but not COVID positive.
Exactly.
So Jay, hit her with a question.
Yeah, and ma'am, can I get your name and which village you're from, please?
My name is Summer, and I'm from the village of Jigo.
Oh, hi, Summer. Hey, Summer up in Jigo. Those are some of my best memories. Summers in Jigo are fantastic.
Pretty cool talking to Summer during rainy season.
All right, so Summer, your question is, which ingredient gives pesto its green color? Is it A, basil, B, bell pepper, C, food coloring, or D, arugula?
A, basil.
Right
Yeah,
off the
absolutely.
bat.
Correct.
Swinging for the fence. Okay, the Astros and the Braves are in the World Series. I'm betting on Summer. She just went 1 for 1. She's right out of the park. Summer, congratulations. Good job.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Right on. So it's not FD&C green number 5. It's definitely
I was
basil.
really going to go for food coloring, but
Right.
Summer, do you like pesto on your pizza?
I love pesto.
I do too.
Pizza, yeah.
It's very, very good. Some people are like, wait a minute, what? And no, I mean, you can either have it in combination with tomato sauce or in place of. Either way, it's really awesome.
Sure is.
Summer, hold the line, Kay, and we're going to get your info.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Right on.
Congratulations. Great
Thanks
job.
for listening. 7:41, quick break, and Mayor Jesse Alec is coming up next. Right here on the link. Good morning.
Celebrate National Pizza Month with the Pepsi Ultimate Pizza Trivia Challenge. All you have to do is listen to the link during the month of October, and when prompted, call 671-637-0094 with the answer to the Pepsi Ultimate Pizza Trivia Challenge. Winner will receive a gift certificate from our participating pizza parlors and a 12-pack of Pepsi, brought to you locally by Pepsi.
KUAM Communications continues our perpetuation of our Chamorro culture, language, and heritage, with features available to our listening and viewing audience, including streaming of Chamorro music 24 hours per day on Isla Digital Radio on KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. Chamorro News Update, weekdays on The Link and the KUAM News YouTube channel. Conversations about life in our Chamorro language podcast, Cuentos Tapoco, with Kin Conception. Seasonal specials, shows, and other features highlighting the beauty of our language, culture, and history. It's a new era of our continued commitment to our Chamorro heritage. Isla, watch, listen, stream. Viva Isla! Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape Superstore. Stop on by and visit our showroom today. We offer everyday low prices on all major outdoor power equipment like bush cutters, chainsaw, power washer, generators, and more. Need service, repair, maintenance? Well, check out Guam's best superstore only at Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape, located in Barragata along Army Drive between Submarina and Besta Market. Call 735-7446 for more information. Now shipping to surrounding islands. Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape Superstore.
This season, KUAM Communications is ready to go with more games, more championships, and more sports specials guaranteed to bring out the fan in you. Don't miss a minute of gameplay from NBC on KUAM TV 8 or from CBS on KUAM TV 11. We're bringing you all the action and excitement brought to you locally by Marianas Irrigation and Landscape and Dokumu Pacific.
The Totomotna Tales. October on the KUAM Podcast Network. The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand, featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
KUAM TV has been on the air for 65 years. 65 years of growing, changing, and adapting to the needs of our local community. 65 years of making you smile, laugh, and cheer, and being there for you in times of tears and heartbreak, and learning to heal together. We've kept you on the edge of your seats, been a trusted source for you to turn to, weathered many storms together, and celebrated life's big moments. And now at 65, we celebrate all the firsts we brought you over the years, and all the firsts that lie ahead as our world changes. KUAM TV, celebrating 65 years of firsts on Guam.
This holiday season, we're once again bringing together the island's largest array of local vendors for a special innovative way for you to shop, broadcast, and go digital with Team KUAM. Join us on Sunday, November 28th for the annual Christmas Pops Virtual Holiday Market at 12 noon on KUAM TV 8 and the KUAM News Facebook page, plus additional show times through December 11th. We'll also be featuring vendors daily with posts with QR codes and links on our social media pages beginning Monday, November 29th, and hosting an exclusive Christmas Pops website for your one-stop shopping. It's a safe and convenient way for you to shop local this holiday season. To reserve your spot, email promotions@kuam.com today. Virtual space is limited.
When it comes to that cha-cha, everyone is on the floor. It's the number one ballad for that top moves. And after working all
Hey, good morning. Brought to you by Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, IT&E, and Jack in the Box. What's the deal with Halloween again? There's a guidance about it. I just told my kids the governor doesn't want you to trick or treat. So much easier that way. But they were asking me too this weekend because there weren't any of those. There's these like bougie golden kiwis that we've been getting and we haven't had any. And they're like, Dad, how come we don't have any? Dad, how come we don't have any of this? I'm like, the shipping is tripping. That's all. Keep it simple.
Just get each one of your kids the Cadbury cream egg. That's gonna last them like at least a week.
Little nibbles.
You may have to like take out a loan to get a few of those, but you know.
Hey, good morning, 747 Mayor. What is PD and the different villages doing? I know there's a lot of drive-through, right? Trunk and treat, they call it.
Yeah, we're doing a drive-through. Nimitt Hill Estates, they're typically known for all the trick-or-treating up there.
Yeah.
So I know there are definitely some residents that still want to do that. And, of course, if they do it, we just ask them to do it safely, right? But yeah, we'll be offering a drive-through at the office for sure, and most of us are doing that, I believe. Yeah, so just to kind of keep everyone safe.
Right, Mayor. So when you get those little graphics about what you guys are doing for Halloween from the different mayors, send them our way, and then we'll be sure to promote them.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah,
right on.
I know people ask. I mean, it's been a question for weeks now since October started. It seemed like October started yesterday, and it's ending tomorrow.
Yeah,
but yeah, they've been asking all how to do it, and gosh, I think by now we all have gotten used to some way continuing on with life and making sure we're safe. So however you do it, just be safe.
Right on. Mayor, I know you guys are really busy, especially in your neck of the jungle because of the flooding, right, this weekend.
Yeah, there was a lot of rain this weekend for a lot of us central and southerners. I know for sure the southern villages worked throughout the weekend, making sure their waterways and their areas were cleared for drainage. I'm glad that it kind of the rain has held up today to kind of dry up the soil, because it's so saturated that if we continue to have rain, we're going to have bigger problems in a lot of our villages. So yeah, that was a big deal this weekend for a lot of us, and thankfully everything went okay. And DPW did assist the southern villages, making sure that their waterways are cleared, and anyone else that had any issues. I did not hear of any big issues, so hopefully you don't get any reports of any big issues, because so far so good. But yeah, that's definitely what kept a lot of us busy this weekend.
Mayor, how have these village clinics been going? I know there was a few last week, right? We had Hoggett, Umatec.
Yeah, well, I mean, now that we got the news the other day about the 2 other booster shots, I'm anticipating that starting today, we're going to see an increased number of residents at the village booster clinics.
Yeah.
So I know that Dededo was all filled. Since I think the beginning of the month, their first date was filled, and so we added, together with public health, we added I believe 2 other dates. And I know that Mayor Tavares wanted to include the Estumbo Center in one of those dates to accommodate residents closer to that area. And so I have not received an update on total count yet for this week, but I'm sure it's going to increase. I know it's going to increase for us in PD because I've received many messages already to set them up for appointments on the 27th. And and that's a good thing. We'll keep on going. I know that public health will not turn anyone away at the village clinics. I did receive word that some were perhaps turned away at the UOG clinic, but that's operated by the Guard, and there might be a difference in opinion over there. I guess I'm not positive as to how that's working out, but definitely on the village side, on the village clinics, no one will be turned away. And so I know for the appointments, you have to be 65 and older, because it asks for a date of birth, and of course your year determines that, right? Whether you're 65 or not. Otherwise, if you can't make an appointment, walk in, because there's typically slots for anyone. So that's going good. I like I said, I anticipate this week to see increased numbers, simply because a lot of residents were waiting on the Moderna booster. Like when we started in Sinahanya, I know Mayor Hoffman reached out to us and was asking about Moderna, and then of course when all this came out, the 2 other vaccines or 2 other booster shots were available. We did ask public health to reconsider going back to those villages that they went to at the beginning of the month, and so Sinahanya is definitely one of them, and of course Umatec was another. And so we have not yet received word from public health as to whether or not they're going to go back to those villages,
right.
But I'm hopeful they will. I'm hopeful.
Mayor, you guys are launching, if not already underway, with this very ambitious foster family program that you've been telling us about.
Right, and so I'm hopeful that this week we'll have stuff to share with you to help us promote that. We're looking forward to it. With the mayors went through a whole informational meeting last week to hear everything about what prospective parents would hear and listen to, and just so that we could ask our questions and so that we can understand what the process is, so we can run a more effective campaign. And so I'm confident that with everyone going through that process, at least with Harvest House and Public Health last week, we'll be able to come up with a good set of prospective foster parents by December. And like I said, we should have a lot of our stuff ready this week, and we'll send it out to you guys for some help to get the word out.
Always here to help, Mayor, any way we can.
Thanks. One thing that happened last week was, and I know I did send it to the rest of our mayors, is the Bill 116 that I talked about several times on the show, that was introduced by Senator Perez. So that bill passed and signed into law last week. And what the one part that affects us, I think, is that the littering fine was increased, right? And so that bill was meant to help curb the illegal dumping. On top of that, the part that concerned us the most was that we feel that most people will just pay the fine and move along, right? But that bill, or now law, actually includes some type of community service. And so if a perpetrator is found and is issued a citation and it goes through the process, the judicial process, part of the the fine is also or it also includes community service.
Yeah, are you sure, Mayor, there wasn't like an amendment that like slipped through that was something like, oh, if you get caught littering, you have to stand naked in front of Paseo with a poster board saying, I'm a dirty litter bug, I'm worse than the unvaccinated people? There wasn't like a secret amendment that went through, right?
Well, I don't know. I didn't read it.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, is no one apparently is reading these bills from the legislature all the way to Adelup. They're just like, let's sign it.
What do you want? We'll slip it into the next one.
No, so Mayor, obviously you believe that bill is going to be a good enforcement measure for you guys at the village level?
I think it's another tool, and I know that I discussed it with Senator Perez, and she had some roundtables with other partners when it comes to trash, and that's how that bill came about. And I know she was diligent in that work, and it's not going to solve all our problems, but I know it's a layer, and hopefully it'll help us solve some of that illegal dumping problems. Who wants to be caught picking up trash on Marine Corps Drive, right? Nobody wants to be seen picking up trash knowing that you're a litter bug. So just don't throw your trash. I mean, that's basically it. And I'm hopeful. I am hopeful that it'll work. On the mayor's side, it's more whether or not the mayor is willing to issue the citation or not. And like I've always said, we use the citations as a tool. It doesn't actually have to be issued. If we can let the resident know that we've uncovered this issue, and if we can resolve the issue, and from here on out they're not litter, then there's no real need to issue the citation. Otherwise, the citation is there again to encourage everyone to just do a little better, right? And throw your trash where it belongs. So that's what it is, and I'm hopeful that it'll work. Mm-hmm. One of the many things going on, like I said, there's a lot of administrative stuff that we're dealing with now at the end of the fiscal year and start of the new one. So we're just trying to get that. We're hopeful that on trash side, we're hopeful that the recycling revolving funds will be, our mayors will be able to get their POs soon enough. I will let you know as soon as they're ready. I do know that, the board meeting was this public meeting, so they did approve the money to come back to the mayor's office. It wasn't the entire 1.5. I believe it was 750,000. I believe it was. Don't quote me on that. I know 700 some thousand, I believe. But that that's to start our recycling revolving fund work again. But it's not as easy as that, right? So there's still some process that needs to happen before we are issued our POs. So I would venture to say sometime in November, we'd be able to get those. But I also have to say that this is kind of record time. In the past, we've never talked about recycling revolving fund POs until July, May at the earliest. And so I'm very happy to say that, together with our administrative staff at the Mayor's Council, we've really worked hard to make sure that all our invoices are set and that we reply to EPA the way we're supposed to, submit our reports and get them to be in line and get our money as quickly as we can. So that's definitely a good thing.
Mayor,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Serena Salas Mantanani.
I wanted to go back to the booster shots and the village vaccination booster clinic. We did try to get public health since last Friday to come on live on the show, and actually for the past 2 weeks, but for some reason they're not available. So hopefully we can get them anytime live on the link this week. But be that as it may, we are in a pandemic. You would think that they would be available. But anyway.
Go to the booster clinic?
Yeah. Are you guys doing homebound booster vaccinations, or is public health?
Yes, 311 option 2.
Call 311.
311 option 2, Monday through Friday, 8 to 12 and 1 to 5. Don't call any other time because no one's going to answer. Yeah.
So have constituents been getting those booster shots via
I have not heard of any issues so far. I mean, if there are issues, I just need to know as well, because I'm assuming everything is going well, because I haven't heard of any issues with homebound or transportation.
I'll never assume that, Mayor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right.
And the turnout's been the turnout for the booster clinics, they've been going well?
Well, I think everything went well, except for I think there was a little low turnout in Humatec. And that just, I'm not sure what the reasons are. I didn't pull that too well, but I know that they were below they didn't even meet 50% of their appointment slots. But everyone else, I think, everyone else has met all their appointment slots. And this week, I know Dededo, they ran out since the beginning of the month, since we first opened. And so that's why we worked out with the mayor to have additional dates for Dededo. So I think I said 3, but I think there's a total of 4 dates for Dededo. And I believe 1 is completely sold out. But like I mentioned earlier, I anticipate this week will be sold out at every other village because of the additional booster shots that are available.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about ARP? Have you guys gotten anything, or has the governor pledged to give you guys anything?
Yes, there's definitely a commitment. Like I mentioned, there's a commitment to give us some money, but I have not yet received anything. I'm hoping that Bill 196 will get on session agenda. If not, I didn't. You guys might know because Chris was kind of talking about that earlier. But that Bill 196 is helpful for us, because if that's going to get us money sooner than ARP, then I'd rather I'm focused on that.
Well, has there been any follow up after your meeting with the congressman last week, or was it last week, the week before?
No, just like the ARP, 0. Yeah. That's not, no.
Okay.
You'll know. I told you guys you're going to know. Heck, you might even know before me.
Maybe. You good, Bree?
Yes.
All right. Mayor, so as we get closer to the end of the week, if you could just send us all the things the different villages are doing for Halloween so we can pop them up and spread the word.
Sounds good.
All right, Mayor. Take it easy.
Okay.
Take care. There you go. Oh, wait, Mayor, we had a question next time. Officer Baggy commented in, is he going to do a Christmas display this year? Well, we'll ask the mayor and figure it out. It's 8:01, guys. We're going to take just a really quick break, and we're coming back on KUAM TV. No, we're not. Okay, we're not, because there is football. All right, Jay.
And there was figure skating, which we were paying attention to earlier. Really cool.
Who was paying attention to it?
I love figure skating.
Dude, I love it so much.
You can never get enough of Romeo and Juliet when they're doing like the whole
Right.
floor routine.
Yep. Oksana Bayul, old school.
Yep.
Hey, it's 8:02. We're KUAM
nice.
FM, Hagatna, Guam. This is The Breeze. Good morning. We're brought to you by Pacific Points, Calvo Enterprises, IT&E, and Jack in the Box. All right. You're right, Bree and Mayor Allig there's going to be a lot of demand for these boosters. My phone's blowing up because Team Moderna has been waiting. Team Moderna, and you guys follow the stats, the data from Dr. Ann. She does that weekly data dump. Moderna is the juiciest one. It's got the lowest, not by much though, the lowest breakthrough rate. But
and you can mix.
You can mix it up, guys. Yeah. And it's funny. I remember I did that story on that lady. I think she got Pfizer for the first dose, and then they screwed up on her second dose, and she got Moderna. And so I interviewed her, and she was so worried and stuff. And then now it turns out they actually recommend it. So I want to go check on that lady because she's probably like Superwoman by now. Right? I think she works over at Attica Elementary. Remember that story I did, Jay? Yeah. And so it's called cross dosing. And it was funny because at the time I did the story, I did call it some doctors, but none of them wanted to go on the record. And they were like, actually, Chris, that's probably what they're going to end up doing. It's going to provide extra protection for her. And lo and behold, that's exactly what's happening now.
Because when we're kids, they tell you, if you're on a certain medication, you shouldn't take like different, multiple medications at the same time.
Right.
You're not on NyQuil and then you're also taking 44D or something like that. It's you got to be careful with that stuff. But they're now saying it is okay to cross over.
So what are you guys gonna get?
If given the choice?
Yeah.
I'm brand loyal, so I got the Moderna shot. I'm gonna keep rolling with Team Moderna.
You're right. How about you, Bree?
What?
You're gonna stick with Team Moderna?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at it, the Pfizer is proven too, because the product they made prior to the vaccine
seems to Viagra?
Seems to have done pretty well too.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you a hard time about your Viagra joke.
Nice choice of words.
Thank you. I think I want to get half Moderna, half J&J. What do you think? Okay, it's 8:04.
You realize this is a medical clinic we're talking about. This isn't Tree Bar in 1994.
Put it on the rocks.
Right?
Put it on the rocks.
You can't make Long Island iced tea out of the vaccine.
Right. It's 8:05, Monday, October 25th, 2021. Let's go ahead and get into our 8 o'clock newscast, which is proudly brought to you by Pacific Points. Here with the very latest from the KUAM News team. Good morning, Sabrina Salas-Matanani.
Off today, everybody. As of Sunday night, there were 53 people hospitalized for COVID-19. Additionally, there are 3 pediatric admissions, 9 people receiving ICU level of care, 8 on ventilators. Since Friday, there have been 166 new positive cases of COVID-19 out of 1,830 tests ran by Public Health. New numbers from private clinics from the weekend will be included in tonight's JIC report. The CAR score, 16.8. Additionally, on Friday, Guam recorded its 227th COVID-19 related fatality. It occurred at GRMC on October 22nd. The patient was a 77-year-old female. She was unvaccinated with underlying health conditions. She tested positive on October 16th. To date, a total of 123,017, that is 90.26% of Guam's eligible population is fully vaccinated. Following FDA authorization and CDC recommendations, Moderna and Johnson & Johnson booster shots are now available on Guam. The eligibility criteria for the Pfizer and Moderna boosters are as follows. You must have completed the 2-dose series at least 6 months ago, 65 years and older, 18 years and older with underlying medical conditions, 18 years and older with an elevated risk of COVID-19 exposure and transmission due to their occupation. The criteria for the J&J booster is as follows. 18 years of age and older who were vaccinated 2 or more months ago. The CDC has also allowed for the mix and match dosing for booster shots only. Meanwhile, a Village Booster Vaccination Clinic is being held today and tomorrow at the Dededo Senior Center from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. First and second dose vaccinations are still being given at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. COVID-19 testing is not being offered at the Old Tees and Carnival grounds. It has been moved to the Micronesia Mall parking lot. With more news, here's Isaiah Uggan.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Hafide, good morning, everyone. Guahusi Isaiah Uggan with your headlines here on The Link. Discussion over a major glitch in the legislature's procedures for vetting bills before sending them to Adelup dominated Friday's session. The mistake resulted in the governor signing a local war claims law that was essentially changed from what the authors intended. KUAM's Nessa Lecanto reports.
Speaker Therese Terlahi acknowledged the error on Thursday. It was her amendment that was added, removing any reference to the time for filing claims, so now many more potential claimants are eligible.
Colleagues, as you know, there's been an issue with Bill 130 that was passed by this body in the last session. We're going to have a recess until 11 a.m. to consult with legal.
And with that, they retreated to a closed-door meeting to discuss how such a thing could happen. But Republicans objected, saying any explanation should be held in the open. Senator Joanne Brown.
But to just discuss this in private after what's become a very public mistake really isn't the direction we should be going. I think we should be very open with regards to our people as well as the members of the body and finding out how did we get in this situation in the first place.
That situation is now, instead of about 700 claimants who missed the federal application deadline becoming eligible, there could be thousands.
To know that a bill that, language was put in a bill that obviously was voted down on the floor and was never included as an amendment gets into a bill, and then we're going to discuss it behind closed doors. I mean, I think that just creates a seed of mistrust that our people have. I think it opens the opportunity for corruption, because now I'm concerned, here we are thinking we're passing one thing on the floor, and then how does something get inserted?
And that's the key question. In reviewing the tape from the September 29 session, it's clear that the Speaker's amendment was ruled out of order by Appropriations Chairman Joe San Augustine, and no one disputes that it should not have been added. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
When senators reconvened late Friday afternoon, the war claims bill controversy was still front and center. A majority of the Republicans walked out of session after a motion by Senator Frank Blas Jr. to discuss what happened with the bill was voted down. Again, here's Nestor Lecanto with more.
Speaker Therese Terlahi called the body back to order and attempted to go straight into the regular agenda. But Republicans, led by Senator Blas, wanted an explanation for the mistake with the war claims bill. When that failed, he asked for a recess, and they didn't come back. The Speaker then asked for a roll call, and after the count...
Madam Speaker, there is no quorum. According to our rules, in the absence of a quorum, after roll call has been made, the Speaker or the chairperson of the Committee of the Whole, at that person's discretion, may make a call of the House and call a recess until the absent members are present.
Madam Speaker, actually, I'd like to make a motion that we just recess until Monday. It's already 4 p.m. We're here to do work. Some of our colleagues apparently have walked out. And I think it's unfair to walk out and leave the rest of us here just because you lost on a vote. Are we going to walk out every time we don't get our way when we're voting? This is a democracy. You vote. If you have the votes necessary, then your motion carries. If you don't have the votes necessary, don't walk out, don't take your ball and go home.
Senator Joanne Brown explained their position in our earlier interview.
I don't think we can continue to just go on with session, like everything's okay and everything is normal. I mean, we have a democratically led legislature, we have a democratically led administration, and I think it's critically important to have checks and balance. If we just let this slide, I think people are going to continue to think, it's just business as usual. And rather than having the level of engagement and transparency, particularly because this situation happened, the Democratic leadership is choosing to go in a different direction. And that's the main reason that, myself, Senator Tello Taitigui, our minority leader, Senator Chris Duenas, Senator Frank Blas, Senator Tony Atta, we decided to step out and we didn't want to be engaged in this issue.
Session is scheduled to resume on Monday. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
With COVID everywhere and cases continuing to surge, the monoclonal antibody treatment has been an effective weapon against the virus. One island resident shared her COVID story and how the MAB treatment worked. Here's more.
Local resident Angie Gumatao caught COVID-19 and due to her underlying health condition was unable to get the vaccine in order to protect herself. She spoke with KUAM and shared her experience dealing with the virus and getting the monoclonal antibody treatment.
I don't know how I caught it. I don't know where I caught it from, but I caught it. I caught the virus, and unfortunately, I had COVID.
Gumatao recalls the moment she knew something was wrong.
I was having a hard time breathing, and I think I have COVID symptoms. I need to call the ambulance, right? So we checked my oxygen. It was around 92, 93. And, Dr. Jolene again and all the other healthcare professionals were advocating if it was below 95 to seek medical attention.
After consulting with her doctor, she was then advised to take the monoclonal antibody treatment at the Mangilao Senior Center.
I asked, I was like, Dean, does it really work? Is it effective? How soon after I get the Regenco will I feel better? I was told a day, sometimes a few days. And I was like, okay, that's all I want. I just want to be better. So you have to cross your hands like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be two nurses. So one would inject on the left and one would inject on the right on this part of the arm at the same time. It has to go in at the same time. So imagine getting 2 shots at one time. And then they go to your stomach. So you have a choice between your arm or your stomach first. I chose my arms first, and then I got it on my stomach. So you get 2 shots again on your stomach at the same time.
After getting the treatment, Gumatao said they were observed for an hour for any adverse reactions. After taking the treatment,
1 week later, that Monday after I got the Regenco, the 4th, October 4th, I started to feel better.
Gumatao credits the MAB treatment for saving her life and tells everyone who get COVID to consider taking the treatment. Daniel Perez reporting for Guam's News Network.
That's it for now. We'll see you tonight for KUAM News Primetime.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more. Get more.
And following up on Nestor's story regarding the error involving Bill 130, which was signed by the governor, Speaker Therese Terlahi issued a statement following Friday's legislative session. She says she worked with the Committee on Rules and central staff to determine the cause of the clerical error and to identify any gaps that could be closed in the administrative processes. She adds that she was assured by Acting Rules Chairperson Senator Amanda Shelton that measures were being put in place to ensure it will not be duplicated. She added, while colleagues have made accusations in the media that the clerical error was intentional, corrupt, and sowing seeds of distrust, I remain committed to honoring the credibility of this institution, the tenet of attorney-client privilege, as well as the will of this body to provide a productive solution by majority vote. She added that no solution was proffered on Friday and session was impeded by repeated walkouts. In addition, Public Law 3634, authored by Senator Joanne Brown, that requires our agenda be properly noticed, Bill 13036 was not included as an agenda item on the legislature's notice, which was published on October 15th and 19th. Actions on the floor require 8 votes. Speaker Terlahi added that, quote, I understand the calls for accountability from our Republican colleagues and hope they see this as an opportunity to improve upon our processes and not to threaten the livelihoods of these employees over a clerical error or to create chaos instead of a solution. The Committee on Rules should implement changes to prevent future errors. Meanwhile, Bill 130, which with its error was signed into law by the governor, we caught up with Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, who gives his reaction.
Well, I think in the big picture, I think the upside is everybody wants to try and get a program done. And I'd say that based on what we believe the finances are available and what the intent of the legislation, the governor would be able to submit an implementation plan to the legislature that's going to give us a pathway to resolve some of these errors. Now, the big error, to me, is the fact that many WAR survivors who filled out applications at the time the program was open gave them to trusted offices and they were never filed. There were other people that I've met that thought that they had filed and that in previous years their files would be automatically given to the commission. It's created a lot of problems. So my hope and my priority, I would tell you this, is that we need to resolve the claims for those Manumco that were qualified in the federal legislation, and for many reasons we're not able to file an application that the federal government was able to look at. And I think that if we focus in on that group, we'll be able to make good on the promise to give them justice.
In other news, according to the Guam Department of Education's daily COVID-19 report issued on Friday, there were 15 new positive cases involving students and 1 involving an employee. The 15 student cases were identified at Estumbo Elementary School, two at Finagayan Elementary School, Lyndon B. Johnston Elementary School 1, MU Lujan Elementary School 1, UP Elementary School 1, 2 at Weddinga Elementary School, 1 at Estumbo Middle School, 2 at Untalon Middle School, 1 at Benavente Middle School, 1 at GW High, 1 at JFK High, and 1 at Ukadu High. The single employee case was identified at Weddinga Elementary School. The Archdiocese of Viana reporting 10 new COVID-19 cases amongst Catholic school students and staff. Of that number, 9 are students, 1 an employee. St. Anthony Catholic School in Tamuning reported 5 students have contracted the virus, while Santa Barbara Catholic School, San Vicente Catholic School, Bishop Bumgarner, Dominican Child Development Center each have 1 positive student respectively. 1 employee from Bishop Bumgarner tested positive. Since the return to on-site learning on September 20th, there have been a total of 29 cases of COVID-19 reported by Catholic schools, 27 students, and 2 employees. We're now heading into the Zoom room for your weekly weather forecast with Landon Idolette. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. How about you?
That doesn't sound too convincing. I'm doing well.
Ooh. Yeah.
Well, it's Monday, Landon. I don't know how convincing Sabrina's going to be.
Yeah, I am still jet lagged. I've been up since 1 o'clock this morning. I got in Saturday night, and that trip last week was a great trip, but for some reason, I am so jet lagged. My internal clock is so far off because I had evening and nighttime teleconferences during the conference during the daytime in Michigan.
Oh,
but it was a great trip last week, so I had a blast.
Nice. Was it
Yeah,
vacation or was it work?
It was a work trip, so it was the annual meeting of the International Association of Emergency Managers. So we had emergency managers and directors from all across the United States and some from overseas, including Nigeria. I met a guy who's running a company in Nigeria all about emergency management and preparedness. So it was a wide-reaching place, but because of COVID, the numbers of attendees was down to only around 1,100, which is still pretty good for a pandemic.
Right. Were you the only one from Guam that went?
Yeah, I was the only one from Guam that I saw. Typically, we have some from Guam Homeland Security, but they're busy with the COVID response still. So I did miss out on having some of them over there. Hopefully next year, I will probably join this conference because it was a very useful, fruitful time over there in Michigan with the emergency manager. So I learned a lot, and I produced a lot and met a lot of people. So that's the goal of these conferences.
Yeah.
But I remember while in Michigan, hearing a lot about the rainfall over Guam, and that was indeed the case last week with that tropical disturbance passing to our south. That is now Tropical Storm 25W, and that was upgraded just this morning to tropical storm status. So let me go over here to the animation, show you what's out there. This is our Doppler radar image showing dry conditions. So this is a much welcome change to the islands after several days of 1 inch or more of rainfall each day. I think it was the last 5 days we had over 1 inch of rain. Not much out there to speak of, just some spotty showers passing through, but the bulk of it is now well to our west and northwest. And this is all on the eastern flank of what is now Tropical Storm 25W, the infrared satellite. Not bad out there, a lot of sunlight shining out there. 25W is about 400 miles west-northwest of Guam, and it's moving generally northward and away from us. So Guam's right there. The bulk of this rain band is now west of us. And that's what I was concerned about yesterday, watching this stuff eventually move off, and it did exactly that, which is some spotty stuff overnight. So Jason, go ahead and cue up the slides, and we'll talk about the week ahead. So drier weather ahead. Much welcome news. Risk of rip currents, moderate. Risk of rip currents along east-facing reefs to Guam. Fire danger is obviously very low. We're like right at a index number value of 0 on an 800-point scale. The flash flood watch was allowed to be canceled yesterday afternoon, and the small craft advisory also expired this morning as winds and seas continue to subside across the region. The next slide, this is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center graphic showing this is an old image, Tropical Depression 25W. That is now Tropical Storm 25W. That's going to keep well to our west as it moves northward into the North Pacific. And it's also looks like it's currently forecast going to stay off the coast of Japan. So this one's not going to be a threat to anybody except for maybe Iwo To Island, also known as Iwo Jima, to our northwest. The next slide shows our locally produced graphics showing that tropical storm west of the Mariana Islands. That will continue to intensify, becoming a severe tropical storm in the next 24 hours, and then it could become a typhoon by Wednesday. So we will watch out for that. As far as numbers of typhoons in the region, we've been very below normal for numbers of typhoons, but we are keeping near average for tropical cyclones. That's inclusive of tropical depressions, tropical storms, and typhoons in the West Pacific for this year. So this next chart, this is just a summary of where we are in the tropics up through 25W. So far this year, we've had 4 tropical depressions. Those are storms or cyclones reaching only depression intensity. We've had 13 systems reach tropical storm intensity. 4 additional ones become typhoons. And we've only had 3 super typhoons this year so far, which I say only, that's not a bad thing. So the fewer we have, the better we are as far as people in the West Pacific. We like fewer numbers of those. But compare that to the charts on the right side. 2015, that was a strong El Nino year. That was a very memorable year with Typhoon Dolphin as it moved through the region, Chen-Hom, Pseudolor, for example, that hit Saipan. Very busy year with a lot of action across Guam and the Mariana Islands. But then last year, 2020, that was a strong La Nina year. All the action was west and north of us. So we had very little activity across the broader Micronesia region. This year with the INSO neutral pattern, we've had a more average, but notice all those yellow lines across the region. Those are all tropical depression intensity systems moving through the area. So we've had a lot of weak systems move to the Mariana Islands where we've had to generate some tropical storm watches and warnings for the islands locally. But again, no typhoon warnings yet for the island. And that's not entirely bad news. So the main story is the next slide shows that lots of rain. This is the wettest October on record. And keep in mind, records are for the last 30 years by NOAA, National Weather Service. And I've had so many complaints and messages on Facebook and WhatsApp. When is it going to stop raining? It's raining, raining, raining. And well, it's going to stop today. So enjoy the break, enjoy the dry out, enjoy the sun. It's going to be a beautiful day for the next couple days. And again, October of this year has been the wettest October on record for the last 30 years, at least by record standards. Just a lot of rainfall. And so just a couple.
Chris Farley, nice use of the graphic there. Hopefully there won't be any flooding for our friends who live in vans down by the river.
Isn't that the truth? Actually, my friend Dick Brundage in the States, a former journalist, he sent that to me on my Facebook page this morning. And he actually is a great friend of the Weather Service. He used to live in Saipan. He's a retired NBC News journalist. And he travels all over the United States doing communication seminars with the Weather Service. So he's been here on Guam a couple times. Great friend of mine. We hope to have him out here once COVID subsides. So the next slide shows the rainfall statistics for yesterday, the month, and for the year. And just a couple weeks ago, we were looking at about a 2-foot deficit of rainfall for the year. We have since made all of that up and then some. So we're pushing 2 inches above normal for the year. So the rainfall for October has been very beneficial. Definitely no concerns for drought for Guam and the Marianas at this point for the near term. We're about 15 inches above normal for rainfall for the month of October. So those are definitely some good numbers. But the tricky part is if we have a lot of rainfall fall in a short period of time, that's a huge problem. The next slide, definitely no drought concerns for us in the region, except for Kaping and Merengue, where they still have moderate drought conditions setting in. That's typical of an onsetting La Nina pattern. The next slide shows a tropical storm west of us. The arch of strong winds, the yellow and red wind barbs to our west, those are those winds that were over the Mariana Islands yesterday, causing the small craft advisory conditions and breezy conditions over the island. That is now moving away from us. Those circulations to our east, we'll be watching those in the coming days, but the forecast models, they don't do much for development with those circulation centers northeast of Chuuk and north of Kwajalein, so that is the good news. But we'll be watching those. They could bring us some rain probably later this week into the weekend, but certainly not a major washout that we've had the last couple of days at this point. The next slide, seas and surf are continue to subside across the region, but we will see surf build along west and north-facing reefs in response to that tropical storm developing west of us. So we'll see that west swell start coming in gradually Tuesday and Wednesday, with the rip risk becoming moderate along west-facing reefs. And for the rest of the week, not bad today, mostly sunny with isolated showers today. Partly cloudy through midweek with winds becoming southeast and then shifting toward the east by the weekend. Mostly cloudy skies by the weekend with still only isolated showers at this time. So really not a bad week compared to what we saw last week.
Yeah, this is the part I was looking forward to the most, because I was curious about your projections for the weekend, specifically Friday, because we know at least the village of Hoggett, Mayor Kevin Susuiko down there, they're doing some trick or treat. They're filling like their
yes,
yeah, like the big flatbeds, and they're actually going to go around and bring candy to the youngsters in that village and everything. But obviously on Sunday, even though we have guidance that says trick or treating is going to be greatly reduced this year, there's probably going to be small groups of people who are still going to be doing it safe, but kids are going to be out on the street.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great time to be wearing a mask anyway. So make sure the mask is all decorated. I got to get on the Christmas because I am feeling the intimidation, the bullying tactics from Home Depot and Micronesia Mall. They have the decorations up. I have not started yet at home because it's just been so busy, and I might be off island in November for work. So I'm just waiting to find out from those details. But I got a little start right here. So.
Oh, nice. Charlie Brown wants his Christmas tree back.
I'm getting there. I'm going to get there one of these days, maybe by January.
Okay, before we let you go, Len, a little bit of an anecdote, if you don't mind, and everything. Like, what is the best Halloween story that you can give us and your Link family about what you and your twin brother have ever pulled off? Whether it's a prank or whether it was a really good costume or just like twins have the most fun. So what was the most fun you guys ever got on Halloween?
We weren't the big Halloween type, but I remember kindergarten. I think it was way back in 1987. We were in kindergarten at P.W. Moore Elementary School in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And my dad came to celebrate Halloween with my class and have lunch with us. And I didn't know what he was coming dressed up as, but he came as he had black face paint all over his face, his arms, his legs, and was wearing a stuffed black trash bag. And do you know what he was? You'll never guess it.
I could guess, but I'm assuming Twitter would cancel me if I said,
What was he?
He was a California raisin.
Ah, okay. Very nice.
The best costume ever.
Did he sing "Heard It Through the Grapevine" and do that whole thing?
I don't remember, but I can only hope that he did. For some reason, that memory is so vivid with me.
Very cool.
One of the best ones.
Yeah, and
and
I'm sure your therapist made a significant amount of money after talking to you about that over the years.
My dad's one of the best when it comes to pranks and costumes. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, that is a gene that happily passes down from father to son and everything like that. So, hey, best to you and your team over there. If you guys are doing trick or treating, and please be safe. We appreciate the info as always.
Absolutely, and see y'all next week.
Hey, welcome home, man.
Week.
Thank you.
All right. Good stuff always from the National Weather Service.
Well, All Souls Day falls on November 2nd and will look much different than in years past. KUAM's Hannah Devonzo has more.
Over 85% of Guam is Catholic, meaning All Souls Day is a cherished holiday of remembering loved ones who have died. President and Chairperson of Our Lady of Peace, Philip Flores.
It's very different because, as I said, we would normally have thousands of people at Our Lady of Peace. The last time we observed at Our Lady of Peace was 2 years ago, pre-COVID. We had a Mass in Chamorro, we had a Mass in English, we had a Mass in Tagalog, and the park was full during all those times.
Although restrictions are in place for All Souls Day this year, progress has been made from last year.
Last year there was nothing. Last year we were advised not to even open our gates. This year we are opening our gates, as are the other memorial parks or cemeteries in Guam. But however, there'll be no masses, and we're advising our family at Our Lady of Peace to practice your distancing, wear your masks. You don't have to be vaccinated to get on or get in, but we're advising you. We still have rules that need to be followed, and we're not happy we can't have a mass, but we can't have a mass. Hopefully next year.
DPHSS encourages safety measures for All Souls Day. Some include spending time with individuals of the same household or celebrating virtually. scheduling visits to loved one grave sites to minimize gatherings, or creating a virtual space to honor lost loved ones. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Hannah Devonzo.
And with your news in Chamorro, here is Ken Concepcion.
Buenas tardes, tiget suntu bitunut sa morgin ni KUAM News. Presenta ni Familian Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank. The Special Preventive Food and Drug Administration ni recommended the Centers for Disease Control aji booster shot siha na binakuna gini ni Moderna dan ni Johnson & Johnson just tagagi pagugi isla. Para kunalifika para Pfizer dan ni Moderna and booster sa debi kabala sa dos na binakunamu maski size message na tempo tati. Segundo, debi datmu sa 65 anyos padamkornya. Iminatres sinalukid 18 anyos padmasi datmu kumugway zamu underlying medical conditions. Jay mana 4 sinalukid 18 anyos na edad para hulo kumutitsomu mas riskau para COVID-19 nu sina mas tadik tinat mihaw. Para kunalifika para Johnson & Johnson na booster sa debi din 18 anyos na edad padamkornya zama bakuna hasta 2 meses na tempo tati padmas. CDC sa sedi lokui aji mix and match na binakuna para booster shot. Mas asunto, durante na meeting para media gi mampus na Medculis, imaga si Guam Department of Education si John Fernandez, asangan nesta man manay notisya azo siya empleyado, niti man mabakunan ni Cabales kontra COVID-19 na ternod. Ilangyan nesta man manay siya autoridad para formates estisiyan na holanero. Según si Fernandez, casi 350 na empleyado entre todo y 41 na eskwelahan publiko dyan opisina na dyan na ahensya siha sa debi yung matutuhon man mates pago na dia. Adyan na tes ang mas maninay adilantun pernitehi puno fanat mitsan not COVID. Esta hulog Medculis kasi 88.5% na empleyado ni GDOE sa esta Cabales binakunan niya. Yuto mo na sunto para pago na Lunes kifinot sa Moro gini KUAM News. Matutuhang ginigap aji David yung dayo des na numero gi telefon. Adjo sa ijota area code ni 671 pa si numero ng telefon ni yung keke agang. Kumutun sogo esti sempi unungo recording no in-inform mahaw na tikabali si numero no yung dayo. David yung tutuhang tala dunebo dyan na siguro na yung dayo 671 finenina. Este nuevo na reglamento sa maadapta ni FCC gi Julio Nemes para ma-establisa in 988 na numero sa nuevo na 3 na numero para Ciudadano ng Amerika siya para maagang nga di suicide prevention sa ni counselor para mental health na problema siya. Para Guam News Network, Guam si Ken Concepcion. Yasuto ifinut sa moro sa presenta sa ninafato ni Familian Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Want a better look at your spending? With MoneyMap, you can automatically create budgets and manage where your money is going. Know when you have a green light or when it's time to slow down. Maybe cook more meals at home this week. Set your goals, track your progress, and find your way to exactly where you want to be. With MoneyMap from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, it all starts with yes.
Always, Refresh Guam is the island's newest digital hub. You can check them out on IG and FB. And if you're cool, you know what those are. Instagram and Facebook for old fogies like me. For truly local content and daily giveaways, check out Refresh Guam.
Refresh Guam. Truly local.
This holiday season, we're once again bringing together the island's largest array of local vendors for a special innovative way for you to shop, broadcast, and go digital with Team KUAM. Join us on Sunday, November 28th for the annual Christmas Pops Virtual Holiday Market at 12 noon on KUAM TV8 and the KUAM News Facebook page, plus additional show times through December 11th. We'll also be featuring vendors daily with posts with QR codes and links on our social media pages beginning Monday, November 29th, and hosting an exclusive Christmas Pops website for your one-stop shopping. It's a safe and convenient way for you to shop local this holiday season. To reserve your spot, email promotions@kuam.com today. Virtual space is limited.
Celebrate National Pizza Month with the Pepsi Ultimate Pizza Trivia Challenge. All you have to do is listen to the link during the month of October, and when prompted, call 671-637-0094 with the answer to the Pepsi Ultimate Pizza Trivia Challenge. Winner will receive a gift certificate from our participating pizza parlors and a 12-pack of Pepsi, brought to you locally by Pepsi.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38.
Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This pink message is brought to you in partnership with Ordot Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
Ça m'a fait quelque chose. Il est entré dans mon cœur et parlait de bonheur dont je connais la cause. C'est lui pour moi, moi.
Hey, good morning. 8:38. The Lake, Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, ITD, and Jack in the Box on this Monday, October 25th. Good morning. Let's head into the Zoom room where we have standing by attorney Vanessa Williams. She wears a lot of hats. I'm surprised she doesn't have 5 heads. Wears so many hats. Hi, Vanessa. Unmute.
Good morning. It's
Good.
the 5-headed monster.
The Hydra, if you will. One of the hats that you definitely wear, chair of the Cannabis Control Board. And I mean, a lot of people have been asking. I know we've been shooting messages, but what is the status of the rules and regulations for the implementation of this law?
So the status is that there are the board via the different agencies that sit on the board are revising the rules that we proposed based on comments and feedback from the Attorney General's office. Well, it's their advice. You know, the Attorney General gives their advice on the constitutionality, whether it's organic, any other problems they see that might be inconsistent with other areas of law. And they give us advice on how the proposed rules were drafted. We're making revisions to those rules based on that advice. Once those revisions are done, and as soon as we're able to notice a meeting, the board will discuss whether they're going to approve those revisions or make further revisions. And then it would go back to the AG's office where we hope it would be approved based on our revisions.
Can you talk about what specifically the AG had issues with or wanted to look at again?
Yeah, there's I'd say a couple, the two main categories are one, what authority the board has to seize illegal product. So it's not criminal anymore. It's just illegal to grow or sell cannabis without a license, for commercial purposes. And the board had tried to adopt a seizure practice that was similar to what the agency Rev and Tax does with alcohol. And the AG's office said, we can't do that. So we have to rework what the enforcement mechanisms are, the penalties, because the law doesn't provide for the Cannabis Board to do any civil forfeiture of illegal product. And it's not a crime anymore. So there's no remedy in that way. The other broad category is how the rules were written, and there was a lot of advice to make the rules more specific and clearer for businesses to understand. So, for example, where there's reference to other laws or other requirements, because it's not just Cannabis Control Board that oversees these businesses. You still have maybe EPA getting involved, fire department, land management. And so instead of just referring to land management, the suggestions were more to incorporate what the law says in those specific cases or the rules say in those specific cases and put into our rules to make it easier to follow and unambiguous. So those would be the two main categories, the biggest things. And in that, it requires a lot of little revisions.
How long's it been with the AG?
Well, the AG, I want to say they had it, I don't remember exactly. I want to say a couple months, a few months. They did return it back to us already. And that's what we're working on, the revisions based on their advice. Over, I want to say, last month, August to September, we had a couple sessions with the AG's office in which they relayed their advice. And so now it's been back with the agencies. So you have, various agencies, you have public health working on it, you have Rev and Tax working on it, you have Department of Agriculture, and they're all working on these revisions based on their advice and looking to other areas of law that they need to incorporate.
How long do you think it's going to take?
Well, right now, I don't know how soon we can notice a meeting because we have we're waiting for a purchase order to issue so that we can actually get the publication for our next meeting so that we can meet the publication requirements. And so as soon as we're able to, that purchase order issues, I believe that comes from GSA, I think because it's a new fiscal year, I'm not sure. But as soon as that issues, we're going to set a meeting. And so that would probably be within like 15 days of when we get the notice. So it gives them time to do the publication. And that we're moving forward, calling the meeting, and we'll hope that all the revisions are finished by then, because that's when we're meeting next.
Can you kind of go over are you aware of the timeline once it gets transmitted to the legislature?
No, I can't. So it's kind of, I can give you the steps. I don't know the timeline because there is no specific timeline for the Attorney General's office to act. Once they get the revisions, they're going to compare it to the old version, make sure it meets their scrutiny, and then once they approve it, then it'll get submitted to the legislature. And I can, I don't know how long that's going to take. I doubt that they would even know at this point because they'd want to see the revisions first before they estimate.
Right. So what I from my understanding was that they can adopt it as is or hold a public hearing and then make changes in a bill form. Is that accurate?
I believe so, when it comes to the legislature. So the AG's office, they're not going to rewrite our rules for us. They're just going to tell us whether they're sufficient or not. And if they are, then they'll prove it. And then we've got the AG's approval and we've got the governor's office approval so that we can transmit it to the legislature.
So probably next year, realistically, early part.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Was the AG's proposed changes? I know that you had answered Sabrina's question, but were there a lot of like technical things that he kind of rearranged?
Yeah, I'd say they're technical as in, substantive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, because the search and seizure provision is very substantive. That was a whole chapter or article of the rules. So that's going to change, and whether there's going to be something put in like to meaningfully replace that, like higher fines, what other penalties we can do, that would be substantive, that would be technical. I don't know at this point, the board hasn't decided what to do about that. Well, I'd say that would be the main technical thing.
Would the public have the opportunity to look at these changes?
Well, yeah, they would have the opportunity because they'd be at our, once we notice the board meeting, the public, that's the opportunity for the public to know, and then, and the media, and then they come to the board meeting, and we always have an opportunity for the public to see. But in terms of like the initial process where we had a hearing and we scheduled multiple hearings and had a period for comment and feedback, that we don't go through that process again. Otherwise, I think we'd be stuck in this process forever. You're never going to please everyone. So, public's always welcome to come to the meetings and comments, but that public hearing process has ended. So we've been advised, the AG's office, make your proposed changes. The board has to approve and send it back to their office.
Did you anticipate the whole thing taking this long?
Well, definitely not. I definitely not. I definitely didn't expect this. I did think it was going to be very difficult, because you are creating a regulatory system from nothing. And there's so much about cannabis that, people don't understand, or, the government doesn't understand. In terms of COVID, where that stopped everybody and redirected what public health was doing, what rev and tax was doing, didn't expect that. But aside from that, what I think what is kind of the most surprising is just the amounts of the time from the public hearings to now. I think because we've got so much feedback and it's, in polar opposite directions. There are people who they still don't want cannabis to be legal. So nothing's going to, suffice. And we've got a lot of comment like that. So I think that's the most surprising part, is a lot of resistance and to the rules, as opposed to being, what I think we anticipate is put out something that is the minimum, that is the minimum to protect the public and to ensure compliance, make sure the public is safe and that their cannabis is being adequately regulated. And what's surprising is that people, even in support of the cannabis industry, a lot of the feedback was for more regulation.
Wow.
For more scrutiny. And I think that's what's most surprising to me, is that instead of saying, yeah, okay, let's do this, let's go ahead and go with these regs as is. So like, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. So that's, I think, the most surprising thing aside from the pandemic.
Yeah. Is there any update on the GBME case?
Yeah, so this is the case with Mr. Lubofsky bringing a petition against the Guam Board of Medical Examiners and the Guam Allied Health Board. And we had a hearing last week. Unfortunately, nothing was heard to move forward in the matter because the government filed a motion to dismiss. And so the judge has allowed us an opportunity to respond to that motion to dismiss and to hear address those arguments before hearing whether the alternative writ, which is like the permanent writ, the final relief, will issue. So we don't have a hearing date yet. I believe the judge said it probably won't be till the end of the year, like sometime in December, just because of the criminal case backlog that the courts are facing. But we will be submitting a response in the next week and a half.
Mm-hmm. You said motion to dismiss. Are you able to explain the reasoning for the motion to dismiss? I know that when you had filed the lawsuit, and I was looking up GBME just to see if they had started posting physicians who had been disciplined, and I didn't find anything, but I did find that they actually launched a website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's actually that's one reason.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few reasons. They're kind of alternative arguments, and one of them is that they've already started the work for the website because and saying, okay, well, we've already started this website, so there's really the lawsuit's moot, the petition's moot because the judge doesn't need to order us something we're already doing. And that's what they've said with respect to this website, where it has to have detailed physician profiles. The other thing that they've argued is similar with respect to the rules, because what Mr. Lubofsky is suing to enforce is that each of these boards adopts rules and regulations, a unified process, well, not unified, but a consistent process with respect to each of these boards to investigate complaints from the public. And so their other argument is that they do investigate complaints from the public, but and there is a process, but it's not a process that follows any rules or regulations. So that's kind of the defense or their argument. The other main thing that they're arguing is they're saying that Mr. Lubofsky doesn't really have the right or standing to demand that the boards do these things that we say they're required to do by law.
That he doesn't have standing?
Yeah, so they're saying, well, you know, he doesn't have some specific special interest in really making the boards do what we say is required by law. And kind of the technical size of that argument is just, I mean, I don't know under their argument who would have standing, but I can tell you the reason he's brought this lawsuit is that he's had multiple complaints pending before each of these boards. So, you know, if having an actual complaint pending, having them not having a documented process for how these are going to be investigated in these rules and having them pending for a year doesn't give you the right to kind of make them do their duties. I really don't know what does. But the other, you know, argument is there is law that in a writ case, in a mandamus case, when you're seeking the performance of just some public duty, a duty owed to the public at large, then you don't need to have that special beneficial interest that's owed to you. You know, it's you, because what you're doing is kind of this doctrine of citizen or taxpayer standing. You're just trying to make sure the government does what it's supposed to do by law. And any citizen should be able to do that. So there's really, I mean, I believe that Mr. Lubofsky does have standing on this under this like very narrow look that they're trying to adopt. But other than that, you know, I think the public, anybody has a right to enforce the government to do their duty. And so that's kind of the interesting thing. That's the other argument about whether he can bring this lawsuit. Wow. And you got to remember, I think the boards, their duties, if you look at both the Allied Health Board and the Medical Board, their primary responsibility, their duty is to protect the public. You know, that's their duty. They're supposed to adopt rules and regs to protect the public. And I think that when you have a claim that there has been some improper or incompetent health care, then you would think that, you know, it's in the public's interest to have a prompt, unbiased investigation for that complaint to protect the rest of the public.
Are you aware where anyone can go here on Guam if they wanted to know if a doctor was ever disciplined? Is there a site other than, I thought it was supposed to be on this GBME site. Do you know?
No, I'm not aware of any other centralized location where you could find all this information. And I would imagine that's why the legislature wanted this to be adopted, you know, so you basically have one place where you can see everything about this healthcare provider. What the law does provide is also says that when anybody requests this information, the same information that should be up on the website, that it should be provided within 4 days. So this is a specific provision in the same law for those physicians profile, separate and apart from the Sunshine Act. So that's basically the only other way you'd be able to get this information at this time. Right. And you'd have to hope you'd get it within 4 days.
Wow.
So when do you have to file your response brief, or have you already?
We have not. We'll be filing it next week.
Okay. Well,
Right
thank you so much.
Wow.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, very. Way more interesting than the cannabis rule. Thank you, Vanessa.
Okay, thank you.
All right, stay safe.
Be safe. There you go, Attorney Vanessa Williams. It's 8:57. Let's keep it in the KUAM News Zoom room. and head in with Senator Joanne Brown. Did you want to play this clip first from session, or?
I guess we can. So
Okay.
we're going to be talking about what happened in session. They're going to go back in, I think, at 10, right? So it looked like the Republicans were trying to have an open discussion on Bill 130, public law. I don't know what the public law number is, but this is what relates to the error with the war claims.
Yeah, Arrogate. So here we go, this thought from session.
Colleagues, as you know, there's been an issue with Bill 130 that was passed by this body in the last session. We're going to have a recess until 11 a.m. to consult with legal. We're now in recess until 11 a.m. I am noticing the lack of a quorum. I'm going to recess until 2 p.m. Recess until 2 p.m. Y Minute 26 ng Legislature in Guahan is back in session. We are on the second reading file. And the first bill on our second reading is bill number 73-36 COR. Senator Ada, you're recognized. Senator Blas?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the House rules, I'd like to move back to motions for the purpose of going to the Committee of the Whole for the purposes of discussing the actions of the body for Bill 130.
On the motion, notwithstanding the rules, to go back to motions.
No, motions, notwithstanding the House rules.
Right.
Go back to motions for the purposes of going to the Committee of the Whole for the purposes of discussing the actions of the body for Bill 130.
Right. Well, I'm going to bifurcate that. First, we're going to deal with the motion, the notwithstanding motion to go back to motions.
Yes.
And then you'd have to make another motion. Okay. So on that motion to go back to motions, notwithstanding the rules, is there any objection? Objection? All in favor of going back of the motion to go back to motions, please raise your hand. Motion fails.
Madam Speaker, can I ask for a little bit of a recess?
Pardon?
A recess?
A motion for a recess?
No, non-debate. Recess, please.
Pardon?
A recess, please.
Yeah, I'm asking. There's a motion for a recess. Is there any objection? There's an objection?
I'd like to ask what's the purpose of the recess?
Yeah, Madam Speaker, so I can discuss it with you.
Pardon?
So I can discuss it with you.
On the motion, is there any objection? No objection. We're in recess for 2 minutes. In the absence of a quorum, after roll call has been made, the speaker or the chairperson of the Committee of the Whole, at that person's discretion, may make a call of the House and call a recess until the absent members are present. I'd like to ask or recess until those absent members become present, but not mandate that all of you be required to stay here while they are being brought back in. So we're just, I don't know, is there any motion? I'd ask the Sergeant of Arms if he could please notify the senators. Senator Ridgell.
Madam Speaker, actually, I'd like to make a motion that we just recess until Monday. It's already 4 p.m. We're here to do work. Some of our colleagues apparently have walked out, and I think it's unfair to walk out and leave the rest of us here just because you lost on a vote. Are we going to walk out every time we don't get our way when we're voting? This is a democracy. You vote. If you have the votes necessary, then your motion carries. If you don't have the votes necessary, don't walk out, don't take your ball and go home. So I recommend that we recess until Monday, make every best effort in all good faith to bring the rest of our colleagues back to session on Monday so we can continue our work. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We'll be in recess until Monday at 10 a.m.
We're going to play a soundbite we got from Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio relative to this whole error thing.
Well, I think in the big picture, I think the upside is everybody wants to try and get a program done. And I'd say that based on what we believe the finances are available and what the intent of the legislation, the governor would be able to submit an implementation plan to the legislature that's going to give us a pathway to resolve some of these errors. Now, the big error, to me, is the fact that many WAR survivors who filled out applications at the time the program was open gave them to trusted offices and they were never filed. There were other people that I've met that thought that they had filed and that in previous years their files would be automatically given to the commission. It's created a lot of problems. So my hope and my priority, I would tell you this, is that we need to resolve the claims for those Manumco that were qualified in the federal legislation, and for many reasons we're not able to file an application that the federal government was able to look at. And I think that if we focus in on that group, we'll be able to make good on the promise to give them justice.
Wow. So, Senator Brown, first let's start with what happened.
Gosh, where do you begin? I mean, you know, our position pretty much is we wanted to have a public accounting on this issue, which is really, you know, unfortunate that this happened and how this issue is being played out. I think we were taken aback by the level of resistance on wanting to have that. You know, we have no problem showing up and doing our job. It's always ironic that we're getting lectured by those that don't consistently show up all day, you know, show up to public hearings. I'm only a member of one committee in the legislature, but the odds are fairly good. If you go back and look at the record, it's us very senators that are raising this issue, that are around, engaged, involved at session. You know, we're there to do work. We have no problem with doing that, but I think a lot of attempts, rather than addressing the key issue, which is to have a public open accounting of what happened, because obviously this is serious. This is not a casual thing. And had the tables been turned around and it was a Republican majority, I doubt the Democrats would simply say, oh yeah, it was a clerical error. Let me go respond to the press release and let's go home. It's all good. I doubt it. You know, the accusations that this is intended to be political. When something like this happens, and this is not a common error, at least we hope it isn't, but that's why we want a public accounting of this process. And I think there's a lot of attempts to direct the issue elsewhere. To not respond to it publicly, you know, do it behind closed doors, which we argue should not be the case. This process should be transparent, because when you serve as a member of the legislature, you've been duly elected by the public. You take one action on the official floor of the legislature, and then the outcome is 180 degrees different from that. That is something that we all should be concerned about. And so the resistance in from the leadership of the legislature to not want to do this is just, it's very concerning. This is not what we expected. And so to continue on and make it seem like, oh, let's just get back to business here and let's go back to session and let's just deal with all these other bills. You know, we don't set the schedule. We don't set the schedule when session gets called. We don't get the session schedule when, you know, we're told when we come in to vote. We're not directing the staff. And you know, to try to distract this issue from really what the main point is, it's unfortunate. This is not the response that we expected. I would think that everyone in the legislature would want to have a public accounting of this issue so that we can identify what is the key problem and what do we do to correct it so that it doesn't happen again, so that we and obviously the members of our community can have some trust in the process.
Do you believe this clerical error was intentional and corrupt?
Well, I hope it wasn't intended. I mean, all at the end of the day, I don't think any one of us would want to believe that it was intended. But I think that needs to be put on the official record. How did we get here? How did we get here? You know, we have key staff that are hired, attaches of the legislature that are voted on by the body to perform these responsibilities. And, you know, I've been around the block quite a few times. You know, I've been at this. This is my 7th term. 3 of those terms, I've served as legislative secretary. So I understand the importance in the process of legislation. Once it's passed by the legislature, how it's transmitted to the governor, how it's reviewed, and then once it's received back from the administration, how it gets delivered back and accounted at the Guam legislature. So when something like this happens, it's very concerning. And it should be to all of us, because if an action can be contrary, I mean, if anyone can insert something intentional or unintentional, we should be very concerned about how did that happen and what steps do we need to correct that. The level of resistance that we have received to not want to have a public accounting, and the response is, well, let me just go to the media and talk about it. Let me just issue press releases, and that's the response. I don't think that's the official action that we should be taking, and that's the position that we've had on this issue. So, to try to play it up that, we just don't want to come in and play ball. We're there at the game when most of the people are never around, including session. Look at the record. Look at who's there. Just, the cameras are on when we're in session. So I think it's unfortunate that others want to distract from the real issue at hand, because the key people in leadership, if they don't want to put their staff up that work for them, then by all means, why don't they? They're in the position of leadership that make these decisions. Why don't they respond to it publicly? What is the problem with that? Why are we hiding from the people? And why are we hiding from each other on this? Us going in a back room having this conversation does not resolve the issue.
Have you heard whether or not the Vice Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes or the co-author Senator James Moylan plan on, I guess, introducing anything to undo this error?
I don't know. I don't know what their actions are. I mean, I want to ask what they did to review this bill before it got out, because this is their bill. Normally, if you're the sponsor of the bill, you also have a responsibility in this process. Rules has a responsibility in this process. Legal has a responsibility in this process. The recording secretary has a responsibility in this process. But I think it's important before we rush and say, let's keep going on with legislation, because it's turning out every few weeks, literally. We were just in session 2 weeks ago. Now we're back in session again. The evening that this was voted on, we were there till later in the evening. We were told to show up at 7. We didn't vote till almost 9 o'clock. We had to be there the following morning at 7:30. We don't get to decide when we vote. We could have very easily voted the following day. We could have voted 2 or 3 days later. Because now I'm going to ask, if we're expected now to become proofreaders in addition to being legislators, then by all means, I think I'm going to ask for a little more time, after these bills are engrossed, so that I can sit down and actually review it. If that has to be now my responsibility. We have a $7+ million legislature. But somehow we're now expected to be the proofreaders of bills. This is a system that has worked for many, many years. And for some reason now there's a failure in that system. And now we're being denied the opportunity to request a public accountability by our other colleagues there. And that's really unfortunate. We should be demanding that transparency. And that's not what's happened here. When I say that this breeds a seed of mistrust, of course it does. It breeds a seed of mistrust when you're not willing to come forth and publicly account for it, and then make excuses as to why we're not willing to do it. And I just don't think that's right. I think the people expect more of us. It's not just among ourselves that we need to come to some sense of conclusion on this issue and accounting on this issue. We should publicly come to an accounting on this issue, because if we seemingly just turn away from it and turn a blind eye and it's not a big deal, that's my point. This leads the opportunity for corruption. Can you imagine the budget bill? Can you imagine if someone went in there after the fact and changed figures? Do you think within a couple hours we're going to be able to go through an entire budget bill that we just passed and verify every single section, every single number that was done, if we don't have sanctity in the process of how legislation is passed? So that's the main concern that we have and what we've raised. And instead, all we're getting is resistance. And I think that's the main concern we have. Why is there not a desire to want to go on the floor of the legislature when we see that the actions of our body on the floor don't seem to matter, when the outcome is totally contrary to the actions and decisions that were made on the ruling with regards to this bill? And then at the same time, while we're accounting for, we're also saying, by the way, I support this. We should separate the process of this bill and what happened versus the issue. And I'm heartbroken that it's on this issue, that it's on the issue of war reparations and the intent to try to address and correct the timeline, the very limited timeline our people were given to file after waiting for so many years. That was the whole intent of the bill. And that's what I walked away from session when we had deliberated on this issue. And yet the outcome is totally different. And you have others now that are trying to politicize it even more by saying, oh, yes, this is what happened. But by the way, this is what I supported the same breath. I don't, you know, you talk about trying to play politics on this issue. Who is not a descendant of anyone that was here during the war, that did not recognize the suffering and atrocities of our people? You know, who anywhere here does not have a sense that justice needs to be addressed on this issue? Nobody has an exclusive right to that. But we have certainly every right as members of the body to expect a public accounting of what happened in this case, especially if you know, some have the interpretation, oh my goodness, this is law. I'd like to know who those people are that are not elected by the people of Guam that get to decide what is in the legislation that comes out of the Guam legislature.
Senator, but are you guys going to play ball today, or are you going to, in the words of Senator Rangel, continue to play with your balls at home?
Well, I think we're going to see whether or not the legislature and the other members there, including the speaker, are open to having this discussion. I'm taken aback that the speaker's response to this is to not want to have a public accounting on the floor of the legislature and make, you know, assertions that somehow we're going to go after staff and we're trying to take people's jobs, and we're, you know, where does that have a basis in being responsible in our government? We have an accounting to the people because this is what we have chosen to do. We have chosen to run for office, and the people of Guam have put us in place. So we have a public accounting to do that. But for some reason, there's this continued defiance and resistance. They're saying, oh, we're walking away. We're here, Chris. I'm here at work today. You know, you're not going to have a hard time finding us. You look in the records of the legislature over the last 10 months, you're going to see, including serious issues like judicial confirmations. You know, back in my previous life here in the legislature, when you had those type of hearings, you had a full house and then some. Go back and look at the record. So it's not an issue for us that we fear showing up to work. We have no problem. We're generally the ones sitting waiting. We're generally the ones attending and participating in public hearings, whether they're in the public hearing room or they're virtual. So we have no problem working, but we have every right to question the process, and we have every right to have an expectation, as the public does, of public accounting of how this situation happened. And that's really the real issue here. How can we have confidence moving forward to continue to pass bills when something like this happened on this very important bill? How do we know it's not going to happen again? How did it happen in the first place? And simply having side conversations and press releases and making that the explanation to the public, I don't think that that includes any degree of openness and transparency and honesty with how we're working with our people in the people's house.
So wait and see, I guess. 10 a.m. We'll see.
Well, we'll be here as we always are. We'll be here.
All right, Senator.
Wait, I did want to ask, you know, because there was that long recess from when you guys went in at 10, and I think she recessed because of the error, right? So were the Republicans privy to hear from the legislature's legal counsel?
You know, when we were made aware when the recess happened and that the first action was to shut off the cameras and all of a sudden they're starting to talk to us, that was when the concern were raised. I said, wait a minute, why are we doing this? Why aren't we having a public accounting? Why are we behind closed doors? We didn't stay in the room for that discussion. We thought that this has happened officially, then this should go back on the record and it should happen officially on the record. And that's a position that we took. We came back in the afternoon and waited like an hour and a half. We were sitting in the session hall for an hour and a half before session was called. Once again, the motion was made to have this discussion on the floor. And once again, we got voted down. So for us to just sit there and go along with the flow as if everything's, you know, normal with the world and all is good when something like this has happened, I mean, I don't think it's right. And we're simply bringing it to the attention. Our very action is to bring to the attention of our colleagues who are very resistant. The remaining 7 in the session hall are, you know, I can't say, I think there was one other that voted with us, a couple of others that voted with us, but we didn't have enough votes to get this issue discussed on the floor. And that's really the real issue of transparency. And like I said, this breeds the opportunity for corruption when we want to do these issues behind closed doors and not have a public accounting of what is going on. And this is a serious issue. This is not casual. Oh, by the way, we just had a little, you know, clerical mistake. Then if we had a little clerical mistake, why is there so much resistance to discussing this issue openly in the floor with the attention and eyes of the people upon us in terms of what action has happened? Because that loss of confidence, you know, how do you get that back if this is how we react to this issue. We want to go behind closed doors. That to me is not the way to proceed. I don't think that builds a lot of confidence and favor, especially if we're doing this with the way this bill, some are claiming became law. It's an empty promise to our people. How are you going to fund this? And if you're going to fund this, what are you taking off the table now? Because it's not like the federal government is giving us extra money to pay this. We're taking money out of, if they're going to look at, of course, originally the law was set up in Congress that we're taking out of Section 30. But a large portion also of Section 30 is dedicated to funding a lot of current operations that are critical in our government. And I think we need to have that discussion. There should be a public discussion of our people also to be able to come in, because this is a very different issue, to come in and have their input on this. Because if you take out money from one end, there's going to be implications to the other end. At least let's know what those are, rather than, oh, this is law because it inadvertently got a clerical error in a bill. I don't want to be here making empty promises to people because I don't know how is this going to be funded. That's not right. Our people have gone through, there's so many unfunded mandates of legislation that have been passed year after year after year, and our people are left still, where is it? What is it? That's why there's almost that view of our people, our people get tired of that. I think we want to make sure that when we pass something on the floor that it's sound, and that if we're going to pass an appropriation, that the money's there for the intended purpose. Because I think people are tired of that. I don't think it's right for us to continue to do that.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, if you look at what Lieutenant Governor had said, it almost, call me crazy, but what if they just let this lie and say, oh, well, here's a convenient way. We turn this L into a W and let's get our monuncle paid over the next, 10, 15 years, however long it's going to take.
And is that how we're supposed to pass legislation? Is that how the system was set up, the process was set up? I don't think so. I think you got people now that want to take this issue, this unfortunate issue, and play politics with it, or buy votes with it, especially on this issue. And like I said, any one of us that are descendants of those that suffered during the war, this is not an issue to play with. It's unfortunate it's taken this long, and now look what this unfortunate circumstance that has happened, and to want to further politicize this, especially when we don't have fully addressed how are we going to fund it, how much money is this going to cost, and how are we going to fully fund it, and let it go through the proper process. And let the people of Guam also have their input, because this is going to affect everyone here. That's how legislation should be addressed, not through this, oh, it's a clerical error and let's take advantage of it and let's politicize it and let's make empty promises and let's buy votes. That isn't what we should be doing. That really, truly is not what we should be doing, especially on any issue, more importantly, this issue.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, it's good to talk to you. I wish we were discussing a better circumstance than the one we're in right now.
It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry.
Here we are.
Well,
Thank you.
Anyway, you guys take care. At least the sun's out today. There's a positive.
All right.
All
Hey,
right.
on
See
that
you
note,
then.
while we're talking about sunshine, let's go ahead and seg to our next guest here. Pretty sure he loved that one.
Nice segue.
The president of the Guam Visitors Bureau, former Governor Carl Gutierrez, is standing by in the KUAM newsroom room. We talk about the sunshine, and look who pops up. Is he there? Okay, well, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back with Carl Gutierrez, the GVB president. Next, right here on the link, which is proudly brought to you by Pacific Points, Galvo Enterprises, IT&E, and Jack in the Box. Good morning.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Got a question about your finances? You've come to the right place. Bring all your accounts together, even those that aren't with us, and see the big picture, right down to the smallest detail. Unlock powerful tools like Insights and MoneyMap that help you save time and take control of your finances. When you connect accounts with the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, it all starts with yes.
Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape Superstore. Stop on by and visit our showroom today. We offer everyday low prices on all major outdoor power equipment like bush cutters, chainsaw, power washer, generators, and more. Need service, repair, maintenance? Well, check out Guam's best superstore only at Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape, located in Barragata along Army Drive between Submarina and Besta Market. Call 735-7446 for more information. Now shipping to surrounding islands. Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape Superstore.
This season, KUAM Communications is ready to go with more games, more championships, and more sports specials guaranteed to bring out the fan in you. Don't miss a minute of gameplay from NBC on KUAM TV8 or from CBS on KUAM TV11. We're bringing you all the action and excitement brought to you locally by Marianas Irrigation and Landscape and Docomo Pacific.
Join KUAM every Wednesday on Primetime for Inside Business. It's our new weekly segment featuring the struggle of Guam's businesses during this global pandemic. We'll hear from industry leaders about the difficult decisions they were forced to make to implement cutoffs, layoffs, and shorten hours just to survive. It's the other side effect of COVID, the island's economic crisis. We'll also feature new businesses that managed to open and thrive during these challenging times. It's Inside Business every Wednesday on KUAM News Primetime.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Do you feel like you're missing out on something? Make life more rewarding with Pacific Points. Earn and redeem points for bill rebates and free load at IT&E, discounts on fuel at Shell, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. You can even pay with Pacific Points at IT&E, Shell, and Foodies. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
All right, here we go. 9:23. Let's head into the Zoom room. I just got asked, former Governor Gutierrez, when you were a senator, did anything like this ever happen where you erroneously put an amendment in that somehow became law? Or have you seen this type of thing before, basically?
You mean the engrossed bill being wrong? The
Yeah.
engrossed bill that they voted on being wrong and not caught?
Yes, sir.
I don't remember any coming out of our, at least I was speaker for like 2 terms, right? And I was, that one I know in the 17th and 18th, there was nothing like that ever went over to the governor's office or even voted upon on the floor of the legislature that someone missed, or maybe all missed, but I suspect that this is maybe providential. A lot of people here on Guam are probably praying that something like this will happen, because they certainly feel, and I also feel with them, that they certainly deserve to be given war reparations, and deadlines shouldn't lock them out. And that's why at one point, when I was out with the community, that I said that if ever I was in a position, that I will take that original list of certified, people that have gone through the war, that deserve war reparations, initiated primarily by Senator Cecilia Bamba, Chilang Bamba. We went out, and that list was very, very comprehensive, sent to the U.S. Congress, sent to the Interior. And they were already saying that these are the people. Remember, that's 40-some years ago. And with that in mind, I said that I think the first thing I would do is to make right, and to give the people, if someone is going to get it, like we have been getting it right now, that those people that have qualified way back then, that was the list that should use. And with this $150 million, possible $150 million mistake, I think that the administration, this is from my own personal opinion, and from the fact that I've been on top of this issue way back since, that they compromise and say, let's take back that list from Cecilia Bamba, and let's figure out how to pay everyone, because that way maybe you can start to bring the community together. man, I'm telling you that it's just not right as far as I'm concerned that arbitrary dates put in just before a passage of federal law should knock a lot of people out. And so maybe, like I said, it's providential. Maybe this is the mistake that should have been caught, but somehow somebody from upstairs blinded everybody.
Yeah, God made everyone key 10 so they didn't see it.
Yeah, make them all key 10 on this one.
Gotcha. Okay, let's get into tourism now, Gov. So what is the status here with I want to just say everything with tourism because I have no idea what's going on. Where are we at right now in terms of getting the visitors to come back?
Well, as we said that the Korea market, and I have Colleen Cabito here with me, who is the marketing manager for Korea, and the fact that on November 15th, there's going to be about 4 or 5 of us that are going to go there to begin the process of finding a good travel lane, expeditious kind of semi-bubble to start bringing them back. And we have a new person there named Jay that has taken over the marketing leadership there. And he is very, very optimistic that between now and coming up to next September 30th, that we would be getting in pretty close to 4.5 million people from Korea itself. And with that saying in Korea in mind, that I have been requested by the Minister of Tourism and the Ngiray Matul and the President of Palau, Surango Whips Jr., President Surango Whips Jr., that they want to also tap into the Korea market. But I agree that there probably needs to be some kind of a link with Guam to be able to sustain that kind of a travel destination line. And so I will bring the matter when I sit down with Korea Airlines particularly, because I think they used to fly to Palau. But I want to also get into those more, the lower, fare carriers like Jin Air, Jeju, T-Way, Busan, and see whether we can, in fact, put together that kind of an organization, some kind of something that does not go against the fifth freedom rights of airlines. The best one here to step into the picture, though, is United Airlines. Since they used to fly to Korea, I'm trying to figure out there's no restrictions for them to fly from Korea to Guam, pick up passengers here, go to Palau, Palau back to Guam, pick up passengers here, and go back to Korea. That's the most logical airline to be able to do this project together with Palau. So I'm going to bring that possibility there so that we can have a sustained number of tourists coming to Guam. And Guam wins out here. Remember this? We went out saying that we want to bring back the not only cultural centric idea to GVB, but to also bring the region of Micronesia in. And that's how the Continental Air Micronesia started in the first place. And that has gone to the wayside when United picked it up away from Continental. So we want to bring that back and bring the region in. But in the meantime, we'll start with Palau, who's ready to receive tourists. They have a certain number of rooms that they can handle. The other parts of Micronesia just not ready yet with hotels, etc., and other amenities.
That's interesting, Gov. So you're basically saying that we're going to be working in tandem with Palau to attract Korean visitors? Is that what you're saying? So we're not considering them competition?
That's correct. Now, it does well for us because we become the hub anyway. It's going to help the airport here, the Guam International Airport Authority, and the movement of airlines. We're trying to do this as well with the Philippines. You got the Air Asia right now out of the Philippines, and they already have their rights to start flying to Guam. They've been making overtures with us, and they're just waiting for the lifting of some of the restrictions so that you'll have 3 airlines serving the Philippines, and they fly from the south to the north. They fly from I think 17 different destinations, and maybe 7 of them are international airports. So, but Palau, we need to have some kind of a link up with other airlines and other destinations to make Guam and Palau particularly. I think Palau maybe needs us more than but certainly it's going to be very helpful to infuse some capital back into Guam.
Wow.
Hi, Gov. I was wondering if you had anything to say about the LEAP program, the one that was signed by the governor via executive order.
The what program?
LEAP. The 25
Local Employment Assistance Program. This is the
25
$25 million from ARP, and then the senators are going to go find $25 million from the general fund to put it together to support tourism-related businesses and their workers.
Oh yes, well of course we've been also pushing for. Forgot what they called it eventually, but yes, we have been very much pushing for it for our local optional tours. Those businesses and I understand that in bringing back some more information, they need a lot more than that. Maybe they need up to $75 million to start making this thing work. But that's what we need to salvage. We need to save that, because that's what's going to have our tourists, when they come back, continue to see these optional tours. And if we wait any longer, they might just fade away. And so that's very important. I know there are, restaurants would want some, but the restaurants aren't going to go away very quickly. Others will pop up, but optional tours and those kinds of tours where you only have so many places you can go to and many other things to do here in the ocean, you need them. You need what we have right now. The Sea Walker thing down there and the the fish eye. They really need to be able to sustain and keep themselves up, because there's equipment there that they need to be able to keep moving and not put into any idle state where they go into disrepair.
Well, thanks, Gov. You got a big meeting coming up, right? What's that about?
A big meeting coming up?
Yeah,
no, my regular managers meeting. That's what we have on Mondays, and we have a really good crew here that are going to start reporting. I'm telling you, they work through the weekends, and so we all gather all this information, and then we come back and put our heads together. And right now we're working very closely with what Senator San Agustin is going to hopefully give us money to do some of these areas in Guam that needs to be taken care of. Most are in disrepair. We're putting up more lights. We're outbidding right now for lights to be maintained. And with that, we also bring in supplies and materials to store in case those traffic poles, those light poles that get knocked down occasionally. There's about 4 or 5 that are, there's no poles there because it costs so much to bring them in. And so we're going to store it, and Public Works has agreed to have us store it. We're working on a long-range vision right now. The governor has given us a vision on how to move forward to reimagine Guam the way it was back since the 70s, and we're working on that closely. And I'm pretty sure when she unveils it, that the general public, the businesses, will really love to see a new Guam take a leap from the past.
Gov, are they doing the Christmas lights display this year?
I don't know about the Christmas lights, but we are going to do fireworks and drone, and so we're going to do that from GVB. The governor asked us to do that, and we're going to do something to just get the people again, kind of hyped up and get them into the spirit that this is not going to last forever. As you said last time, this too shall pass, right?
Yeah, Gov.
I'm not afraid.
Gov, are you still the permit czar or what?
Yeah, but right now we are trying to figure out how to get. There's a log jam somewhere, and that log jam is SHPO, and the Attorney General is involved in this thing. People are looking at their responsibility and to what extent they can make people pay for what they want, and I think that's going to be resolved hopefully soon, so that when you tell me that I have to go dig up $100,000 worth of area to look for bones, then you should pay for it. That I stand on that firmly. You make me do something to because I have, under the Organic Act, property rights that I can develop. You can't stop me from doing that. And I think that's the way it's going to come out eventually. And once you solve that, then the permitting czar is pretty much superfluous at this point, because that's really where it ends up to die.
Got it. So they changed that, and then you could take off your czar hat and go back to tourism. Got it.
That's right.
Thank you, Gov.
Thanks, Gov.
Okay, thank you.
Right on. There you go. Former Governor Carl Gutierrez.
Wait.
Yes.
You cannot
Wait,
let
Gov,
him
go ahead.
go.
I'm sorry. You always end with something, Gov.
What's that? I'm sorry, I missed something.
Yeah, you always end with something that you say before.
Oh, yes. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is Monday. And I see you up there smiling all the time. You guys are still the one all the time. Thank you.
Thank you,
there we go. I don't know if that picked him up or is getting off the phone with us. Big smiles there. 9:37. Let's keep it in the KUAM News Zoom room where we have Speaker Therese Terlahi is now joining us here on the link in the link Zoom room. Good morning, Madam Speaker. And thanks for joining us. Should I take a break? Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with Speaker Therese Terlahi. Okay.
Oh, there she is.
Right on.
All right, good to go.
Okay. Good morning, Madam Speaker. Thanks for joining us. Okay, let's take a break.
Oh, she just needs
Yeah, we're going to take a break. We're coming back with the speaker next right here on the link. Good morning.
The relationship between Guam and...
Join KUAM every Wednesday on Primetime for Inside Business. It's our new weekly segment featuring the struggle of Guam's businesses during this global pandemic. We'll hear from industry leaders about the difficult decisions they were forced to make to implement cutoffs, layoffs, and shorten hours just to survive. It's the other side effect of COVID, the island's economic crisis. We'll also feature new businesses that managed to open and thrive during these challenging times. It's Inside Business every Wednesday on KUAM News Primetime.
The world of television is more exciting than ever. Don't miss a minute of special presentations from NBC on KUAM TV8 or from CBS on KUAM TV11. Every month, we'll bring you the fun and excitement of award shows and red carpet moments, special series presentations, and other great network programs. Brought to you locally by King's Restaurant, Ruby Tuesday Guam, and Docomo Pacific, giving you more reasons to tune in and turn on. Fall in love with TV again with the best from KUAM Communications.
You know I'm bad at communication. It's the hardest thing for me to do. And they say it's the most important part relationships will go through. And I give it all away just so I could say that. Well, I know that you're gonna be okay anyway. You know there's no rhyme or reason for the way it turned out to be. I didn't go and try to change my mind, not intentionally.
All right, we're back.
You know it's hard to hear
The link.
say,
Good morning. It is
but I
Monday,
can't
9:39. Let's try that again. Head into the Zoom room where Speaker Therese Terlahi is standing by. Good morning, Madam Speaker.
Good morning, Chris and Sabrina and Jason. KUAM.
I don't know if your ears were burning a little while ago, but there might have been a couple conversations about you in the legislature on the show this morning. So let's just go ahead and start there.
Yes. Well, you know, as everybody knows, there was a huge error that was made. I think I was the first one to come out and say we made an error. We made a mistake, and I'm very, you know, I take responsibility for that. I am the speaker. I did not make the error myself, but I take responsibility because when I vote on a bill, I know that I am responsible for what is in there. It is not, you know, we can rely on our staffs, we can rely on, you know, all the central staff and the attachés that we have here, but it's me. I am the senator, I am the voter on that bill. And so I have to take responsibility for what's in there. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of blame to go around, but I don't think we need to spend time on doing that right now. If there is an obvious error, I think, you know, we went to great lengths to make sure that the public gets everything that I have. I told them the error. I told them exactly where it occurred. We got the clerks to put in writing every detail of their process, which is an internal process, not really necessary to discuss that publicly, but we did. We put it in writing. Even better than a public discussion is it is in writing. It is, and this is their accounting of what happened on this bill, what happened with this particular floor amendment. And so if everyone hasn't heard, we sent this out to the media on Friday. We sent it to all senators. The clerks sent it to all senators on Friday. And what happened is, they do a copy of the bill that's like a journal of it that shows every action that was made, every proposed amendment, whether it passed or failed. They put comments, and every proposed amendment is accounted for. So this was an unusual amendment because it neither passed nor failed. It was ruled out of order, and so it had a different type of comment. And that's when the error began, is when they were supposed to clean the bill for voting. It was not cleaned properly, obviously. And from then on, we were using this poison pill, if you will, and all of us were acting on that same bill with the error in it, and all of us failed to see it in time. And I agree with, the former Governor Gutierrez that, this is not a usual thing. It's just very unusual. I don't know if I've seen anything quite like this, although we have made errors in bills. Of course, all of us are human, and we've seen errors. We try to correct them before the governor signs it. We try to correct them before, of course, the senators vote on them. And we try in every way. This one is really unusual because even it went through signing and was not noticed. So we've got a big issue on our hands, and that is just, can we move forward? Or do we need to have a public bashing of, clerical staff, us senators? We can do that too. And I tell them, they want to yell at anyone, go ahead and yell at me because, I am the speaker. That's fine. But I don't think we need to bash employees to get where we need to go. If we are going to move in any other way, then we need to do that as we always do in a legislature by motion, by votes. And that's the only way. And, so right now, while, people are accusing people of intentional deceit or fraud or conspiracy, I don't know what, these kind of accusations are not helping us to get to a consensus, and we need a consensus. And I think the people of Guam expect that from us, that can we work together? Can we just get a consensus and move forward? And, and then, resolve this issue and then resolve all the other issues that we have before us as well.
Right. Well, yeah, Speaker, I know about errors. So how about you said moving forward. So how does the legislature go forward with correcting this?
Well, of course, it depends on their intent, and it depends on what they can get consensus on. And we have to do it by motion. That's the thing. You do it by motion, you do it by a bill, or you do it by a resolution. That is how the legislature acts. We do not act, by public accusation or public, hanging of our employees. That's not really how we act. We act by a bill, a motion, or a resolution. And those are what I keep trying to get us into session so that we can do those things. Those things that, that's what senators are supposed to do. And so I'm just hoping that we're going to be able to have a quorum in order to get to that. As you know, we can't pass motions without a quorum, and we don't have enough votes that way with 5 people out. The math just doesn't add up. So we need everybody's help to do anything and to move forward.
Have you had the opportunity to talk with any of those 5 senators outside of, the cameras of session?
Of course, I've tried to talk with many of them, and and I told them, I am putting my face in front of this. I am taking full responsibility. It's not necessarily my sole error. I don't even control the employees in this central division. I have some control over attachés during session. Those 2 people, and all the rest, are not under my jurisdiction, but I am willing to do whatever it takes to make sure everybody gets what they want. They want transparency. I put it in writing. I made this clerks put this in writing so that not just the senators would hear it, but everybody on Guam can know exactly where the error took place and can see it's a clerical error. And unless anyone else has some kind of evidence as to, some intentional, deliberate fraud. I haven't seen that, and I don't think they've seen it either. And so I just think it's really turning in to look to me like a political opportunity to, just bash on me, and bash on everybody. The problem is, I don't know. If anybody thinks I'm not angry about this error, of course I am. I'm frustrated. This is not the standard I think the legislature should hold itself to. And I very much expect that these types of errors will never occur again because we are going to change our processes. We've already got double, triple checks in here, but we're going to, have to increase those. And no senator should ever walk away and say, I'm not responsible for a bill that they voted on, because we put these in front of them, and, they need to, if they want to rely on staff, then they rely on staff. Otherwise, it is our ultimate responsibility. And that's all I ask, is that let's just get back to our work. Let's get back. If we've got important bills on our agenda that were already there, let's address those. If we can't come to a consensus on this one, otherwise, by all means, if we can come to a consensus, let's move forward. Let's do whatever it is that we can get a consensus on. And, that's the way to work together. And I am open. As you asked, Sabrina, yes, I've talked to many of them. And some of them say, they recognize the attorney-client privilege, and that, it's for the benefit of the legislature as an institution that, we have to have our attorney available to us and to give us options. And these are not clear, they are options, and that's why consensus is very important. It's like you're gonna have to go with the option in the end that you can get consensus on. And that's what we're going to have to do. But I agree also with I'm glad you played that clip from the Lieutenant Governor, because he's correct. Right now, they have to send down a process, right? And so there are opportunities in this process to make up for the error, if you will, right? Or of course, and we have lots of opportunity to try to gain that consensus down here. So I don't see that, this is a lost cause. I think, I also agree with the former Governor Gutierrez that, when you want to talk justice, that's the merits, right? And so, but right now we're just on the process, and all we need a quorum. We need people to come to work, to do their work. We need to do it by motion, bill, or resolution. Yeah. That's the way to move forward.
Speaker, can I ask, because you're mentioning the options in front of the body, motions, resolution, and bill, right? Is an option being considered to just let this error lie?
I don't know. I don't know that that's an intentional option. The problem is, if we can't get consensus, that may be the result. But I don't think anybody necessarily intends that. I can't speak for them. Yeah, so I don't think so. I don't know. I can't.
So the law was intended to help allow 700 claimants to apply. With the error included now, how many does this open up to, and how much are we talking?
We don't know. We weren't even sure about the 700. Mm-hmm. The 700 were the ones they knew about. They're not really necessarily the ones that might have been eligible. So that number was not an exact number. The 10 million is not an exact number as to what we might actually be liable for. And the same thing, these questions were asked at the public hearing. What if we expanded the eligibility? I asked these questions because, of course, everyone knows that's what I wanted to do, expand the eligibility. I didn't like that random cutoff, right? So I asked, if we included that, how many more people would that include? What would that number be? But no one had that type of information available. It's all a guess at this point, I think. And so those are our best guesses.
Mm-hmm. Can a resolution amend a law?
No, it cannot.
Okay, and so then if a bill has to be introduced to correct the error, will the bill have to go through a public hearing?
A bill,
right? For the error in the Bill 130.
Our statute requires that all bills have a public hearing before they're heard on the floor. Otherwise, you go into committee of the whole. But a public hearing is required on almost all bills except for under two circumstances. One is if it is an identical bill to one that already had a public hearing, and two, if it's an emergency affecting the health and welfare of the people of Guam.
And so I guess then someone would have to reintroduce Bill 130 as it was introduced. Right?
That is one option.
Right.
Yes, that's an option. There's several options that are available. Yes, and so as I said, we need a consensus, and we need people down here working on it.
All right.
Is the credibility of the legislative process, do you feel, at stake here?
Not unless you're going to take this written accounting by the clerks and our legislative council as to exactly what happened on the bill, and all the people in the process that missed it, and impugn to them, some fraud. And I haven't seen anything that would lead me to that. So I'm kind of surprised by the accusations that are being made, because it's very clearly, it's a bad error, but it's a clerical error. And it just,
Was this a legislative, this accounting that you sent out via press release?
Yes.
Is that something that you're going to present on the floor?
No, this was presented. This was presented.
Oh, before they went on session?
Yes.
I see.
This was presented when we had that long recess in the afternoon. That was because the clerks were still working on this. And, we need the clerk to help us with our session. And they were still working on this. I wanted to make sure that the senators had this in their hands before they continue to make accusations as to what they don't know the facts. These are the facts as to what happened. These are the facts. And anyway, so what happened? So everybody knows, I said, they did an accounting of everything that transpired on the bill, including failed amendments, including ones that were ruled out of order. And then they were supposed to clean that up and, move forward with the process and the engrossment process before we vote. Clean the bill up, make sure only the past amendments are included. And that's where the error occurred. And unfortunately and amazingly, it's left in, and no one in this entire process, including sponsors of the bill, including each of us senators and our staffs and the legislative council, the governor's council, no one noticed it, the governor herself.
Speaker, let me just ask you though, because you keep going back to it's in writing, it's here, you can read it, these are the facts. I mean, was it really that bad though that it wasn't warranted to have an open and public discussion on it?
Well, the requests have changed, right? So some senators wanted to have public discussion with council. And first of all, there was no motion made, in the morning. I called a recess. I had informed the Republican leadership that I was going to call a recess to allow them and every senator the opportunity to talk with council before we proceeded. And that's how we normally talk with our council, right? We take a recess and we allow any senator who has an issue to talk with council and proceed. What I just didn't want to see is that they demand that one employee, especially these are the non-elected employees, right? Going to get out there and have to publicly, be bashed for this error when it's so clear what happened. I don't know. I just think if we are really sincere about moving forward, then let's move forward. We don't have to, I'm sure there will be, changes made in the clerk's office, perhaps in our entire process. I'm leaving that to the Committee on Rules. This is within their jurisdiction. But for me, I just feel like if we want to move forward, let's move forward. We know the issue. We know where it happened. We know who was involved. We know that we were also involved. So that's why I say, yell at me if you want, but do we need to bring the staff in and yell at them? Do we really need to do that in order to move forward? I think, unless they have some other kind of evidence, I haven't seen anything. This is the evidence before us, is that they made a clerical error and every single one of us missed it. And so it's bad, but, we're going to have to move forward. And I don't believe in this public bashing of one employee who's not even the elected leaders around here, right? They're not even the elected officials. We are, all the senators, and we are the ones voting. And if, that's really that's really the ultimate responsibility to me. We have to be responsible for what we have done. We have to, own up to that. And regardless of, which of our staffers, I'm not going to throw my staff out there under the bus because, we made an error in my office, and I've made many, I'm not proud of them, but I take responsibility for those errors. I'm not going to throw my staff out there because, I didn't proofread their work. Yes, I proofread. That is part of my job. I am a senator. I am making laws. Every single word counts. And that's the thing, So it's a big error, but we are responsible for those errors. Every word we are responsible for.
Well,
each one of them.
let's bring on the senator. I know a lot of great things were said during session last week, but I think the winner was
Thank you,
Senator Clint
Thanks,
Rajal.
Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
right on. Yeah, and Senator Rajal, I know you know that we're right up against the top of the hour here in the start of a session, but I don't know. I mean, because you might not even have a session if these Republicans want to stay home and play with their balls, as you so eloquently put it.
So what's your question?
Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, I guess this. What do you anticipate happening in 5 minutes?
I don't know. I hope they'll show up. I think they'll show up. My major issue was just that they walked out. I understand they wanted to prove a point. But at the same time, I was like, let's just figure this thing out here. My issue, I agree with the speaker on the whole idea of, my biggest concern was this. It seemed like we wanted to trot out all these staff who normally work behind the scenes and sort of put the hardworking staff on trial, so to speak, publicly. I mean, what job do you have where you're going to be broadcast on television? We should be broadcast. We ran for this office, so of course, put us on trial, so to speak, right? But, these staff, there was a clerical error, and we're going to throw them on TV and kind of grill them over the mistake they made. And, if someone wants a staff member to be fired, then fire them or whatever. Handle it behind the scenes. I don't think we have to fire them on public television and sort of, make them feel so bad about this mistake they made. And that was my biggest issue, was like, why bring the staff out? I've never seen it done before. I mean, I covered the legislature for many years in the media, and I've never seen staff brought before the TV cameras and, explain the mistake or whatever. And maybe you could argue, well, they never made a mistake like that in the past. I'm sure there were mistakes made in the past. I don't know if it's to this level or if it's a similar type of mistake. I'm sure there were mistakes were made in the past. Maybe not the same type of thing, but definitely you never see staff being put, in front of the media and the public and on TV to answer to these things. This is something that elected officials should answer to. So to that, I did hear Senator Brown earlier saying that, the elected officials should answer to it. I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. So let us elected officials answer to what happened.
Right on.
To the mistake.
Right.
And, I do think there is one issue that hasn't really been spoken about much, although Senator Brown did touch on it a bit. But I really think a big reason for the mistake was we didn't allow enough time for the engrossment and review of the bill. Senator Brown mentioned how we came back that day at 7 o'clock and the bill wasn't ready yet because we were in session the whole day. Then we ended session and it was basically like, all right, clerks and legal, hurry up and engross this bill so we can vote on it tonight. Engross all the bills, not just one bill. Engross all the bills we discussed in session so we can do all our voting that night. We came back at 7, I think it was. The bills weren't ready yet because they were rushing. They didn't have enough time to engross. So I think for me, the major answer to this issue to prevent it from happening in the future is we need to allow the staff enough time to review and engross the bills. We can't rush them or else that's when mistakes happen, when you rush. I mean, we came back in, we voted at like 9 o'clock that night. So again, that puts all of us rushing too. We didn't really have much time to review the bill ourselves either. So we all missed it, and we should take responsibility. I take responsibility myself too. I missed it. That's what happens when you work till 9 o'clock at night and you're rushing to get things done. Mistakes are going to happen. So I think the answer to this is to take a little bit more time, Let's allow the staff more time, allow ourselves more time to properly review and vet all these bills before we vote on them so that mistakes like this don't happen again.
Well, thank you. I'm sure the suspense is killing you. We're going to let you go off the session now.
Yeah,
and we got to go watch too.
Yeah, go bring a glove. Thank you, Senator.
Right.
Thanks, Senator.
Oh, boy. It's 10 o'clock. Let's do Cover Me. How about that, guys? How about that? How about we move on from this $150 million typo? Well, I don't know if it was a typo. It was already typed. Anyway. Okay. And get into Cover Me, which is proudly brought to you by our friends at Burger King, where you go there on a Friday and you say, I love chicken fries. They're going to give you another chicken fries free. But, while you're at it, you don't have to wait till Friday. Try the ghost pepper chicken tenders. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Becky, the ghost pepper chicken tenders. Minongi. All right, so try that out. Again, it's Cover Me, brought to you by our friends at Burger King. And let me get up in here, sir. Hold on, okay? Because I can't find it now. Okay, I lost it. All right, so Cover Me again is brought to you by Docomo Pacific and our friends at Burger King right here on the link.
Love.
Can you say some words so I can find this thing, dude?
Love those chicken fries. I actually did like that ghost pepper one. It was
was
really
good, right?
It was.
Well, how would you describe the heat, Brie? Because it wasn't like straight up like hot, but it was like, I don't know.
For someone like me, I like pica, but not like super duper pica.
Right.
It was just right.
Just right. There you go. Take it from Sabrina. 10:02 again. We're KUAM FM and Agotni Guam on the breeze. Our buddy CJ now with today's Cover Me. Good morning.
Ifamagun atendi mo na eskwela nidu Salinala mampus makat kita nota Ikumu Tongpan mangut gigi sainan nidu Imaesha Zanima Gofim pun tondi Mona syagi tempu Ilengwa hita Bunga mana Palingu Protegi todo mona Famagun gitano Tata songan todo Fano gitamo Torusit man klosin tau Iret sota ezuhata gogago Samagun nafit mi mo na inengin mizu Sai kuturata tahora tuduwi tempu Ikuturata gofim pun tondi Mona syagi tempu Ilengwa hita Bunga mana Palingu Protegi todo mona Famagu pun gitanu Sata songan todo Bano gitamu Song and todu Vano gitamoru Zata song and todu Vano gitamoru